Chapter 13. Xianxia did not wish for a Maori to completely fall into depravity, so he called Wang Zhen and quietly followed a Maori to find out what was going on. However, what appeared in front of Old Fart Wei was that a Maori was completely suppressed. Not right. The strength of the fist was not right. A Maori's eyes suddenly widened, only to see Tang Tian borrowing this force. Both his legs were slightly suspended in the air. As the distance from the ground was so small that it was hard to detect. If not for a Maori's attentiveness, he would definitely not be able to detect it. This year, Caramel Academy's accumulated points are 0. Other than the capital examination, they still have to participate in the Star Wind Martial Meet. Furthermore, they also need to have a good ranking so that they can obtain enough points. Xianxia hit the nail on the head. Both of their physiques were about the same, but in terms of attainments in martial techniques, a Maori was obviously a notch higher. Tang Tian was in a state of bedevilment, and his strength had increased exponentially. According to common sense, the two of them should be evenly matched. When the fist and palm met, there was actually a sticky force. But Wang Zhen's flash fist and Tang Tian's flash fist were completely different. In comparison, Tang Tian's innate talent was much worse. The only commendable point was that Tang Tian's foundation was very solid. After several failed attacks, the anger in Tang Tian's heart became more and more intense. His eyes had completely turned into a flame-like red. His mouth kept on releasing angry roars, and the rhythm of his fists kept on increasing. Wang Zhen's flash fist was even more ferocious. When it disappeared in the air, there would be a shockwave and the air would be filled with ripples. Tang Tian did not have such a shockwave. His fists were even faster and were even more elusive. You completely did not know where Tang Tian's fists would come from. A Maori was completely suppressed. His 12 dispersing techniques were completely suppressed. Then on a Maori's face there was a strange radiance. You will have a chance. Xianxia glanced at Wang Zhen. Caramel Academy doesn't have enough points. A Maori had lost count of how many times Tang Tian had thrown out punches. However, up until now Tang Tian's punches were all flash fists, and none of them had failed. This was because the Beast Academy had an expert who was proficient in that flash fist technique. Wang Zhen, who was ranked 3rd in the Beast Academy. He specialized in fist techniques, and when he was at the 2nd rank he specialized in that flash fist technique. Fundamental Tang, you are always so unexpected. Wang Zhen smiled. Interesting. Not enough points. Tang Tian, who was full of murderous intent just a moment ago, sat on the ground with a satisfied expression. He rubbed his protruding belly and said with an intoxicated expression, "So good, so delicious. Old man, I couldn't tell that your skills are not bad. In the future the task of saving the stomach will be handed over to you." Tang Tian turned his head. Unknowingly, there was a bonfire behind him and Old Fart Wei was leisurely roasting the meat. Suddenly Wang Zhen thought of a question. If Caramel Academy is too bad, how do you plan to persuade a Maori to turn back? Without saying a word, Tang Tian threw a Maori aside and shouted as he rushed towards Old Fart Wei. "Leave some for me, I want it. I want it." A Maori's face was sluggish as he stood rooted to the ground. Everything happened too suddenly, so suddenly that he was at a loss. A Maori's pair of big hands waved continuously, firmly guarding the door. To actually use such a method to avoid the earthquake as expected of Fundamental Tang. Although he had been restraining himself and did not use any rank 3 martial techniques, although Tang Tian was in a berserk state, but a Maori was completely suppressed, and this made Old Fart Wei surprised. Old Fart Wei watched with rapt attention. A Maori was not much better than Tang Tian. His huge jade body laid out horizontally, revealing a fierce leg hair. He picked his teeth. "Old Fart, were you a chef in the past? But did he really have to use a rank 3 martial technique? Fundamental Tang, I will not lose to you." Both of them froze. To be able to step on heaven's road, he was not an ordinary person. Just at this time, there was a sudden strong smell of roasted meat. Not bad, flash fist. Xianxia's eyes flashed a trace of surprise, but his expression was still indifferent. This Tang Tian is not as weak as the rumors say. Although a Maori did not use a rank 3 martial technique, but both of them used rank 2 martial techniques. To be able to suppress a Maori, his strength is not bad. He was Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen was stunned but immediately smiled. He felt that Xianxia was definitely capable of doing such a thing. More importantly, The power that came from Tang Tian's fist was not right. Tang Tian's nose twitched twice and his stomach immediately growled. The red in his eyes quickly faded, and a strong sense of hunger overwhelmed him, instantly draining his energy. Although he did not feel hungry behind the cross door, but the physiological inertia still existed. The feeling of not eating for 10 days was immediately ignited by the smell of roasted meat. Star Wind City's ranking system was based on points. All kinds of facilities and results would be converted into points, and the final points would directly affect the treatment qualifications and so on. If the outside world knew that Liang Qiu actually praised Tang Tian as not bad, they would think that they had heard wrongly. If Wang Zhen saw fundamental Tang's flash fist, what kind of scene would it be? You mean? Wang Zhen was surprised, but he knew that Liang Qiu had always been meticulous. Since he said that, then it must be true. Let's go, we'll let him go this time. Liang Qiu turned without hesitation. During the spirit meet, let's see if he has any improvements. Martial artists who trained in Flash Fist were not able to use Flash Fist in every punch. Being able to use 8 out of 10 punches made one an expert. Beast Academy's current highest record was set by Wang Zhen. Wang Zhen had once continuously used 100 punches and used 83 Flash Fist punches. This astonishing record caused a sensation in Star Wind City, and from then on Wang Zhen became the publicly acknowledged #1 Flash Fist person in Star Wind City Academy. Heaven's Road. Tang Tian was startled and subconsciously sat up. This kind of Flash Fist, Wang Zhen was full of interest to try it out. Haha, you don't have to worry about a Maori anymore. I feel that although Little Ah is not very reliable at times, but he is a person with his own mind. Wang Zhen chuckled. He unconsciously loosened his clenched fists, but his gaze never left Tang Tian. Not only was a Maori not discouraged, but he was even more excited. But the Tang Tian in front of him completely overturned the impression he had of Tang Tian in his heart. A Maori only felt the pressure increasing and he was in a sorry state. The range of the middle door 12 dispersing hands was constantly shrinking. Yes, there is no one else like Xianxia who truly has absolute power. But Tang Tian's Flash Fist is making me itch to try it out. Comparing the two Flash Fists, a Maori was surprised to find that he was actually unable to judge whose Flash Fist was stronger. He is possessed. Liang Qiu said, look at his eyes. Furthermore, that Flash Fist spirit card, he had only given it to Tang Tian for a few days. Yes, I have checked the points of Caramel Academy. If they want to retain their qualifications just based on the results of the capital examination, the points are not enough. Liang Qiu said calmly. In front of his eyes, countless of fist shadows drilled out from the sky without any warning, like a raging storm raining down on his face. Old Fart Wei said with a pleased face, you guys are still young. As a senior in Heaven's Road, I want to tell you guys, if you guys want to go to Heaven's Road, then you have to first train up your culinary skills. Yes, the rumors are not true. For a person like Xianxia to be able to fancy someone like him, he must have something special about him. Liang Qiu said indifferently, it's a pity when Xianxia was around my strength was still too weak and I was unable to spar with him. It's a pity. Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed. The possessed Tang Tian was exceptionally ferocious, and completely suppressed a Maori. It was like a life and death battle, completely unreasonable, like a torrential storm of attacks. Even though a Maori was on the defensive, he was still in danger. He looked at the figure pouncing and shouting at the same time and clenched his fists tightly. Just as Liang Qiu and Wang Zhen disappeared, Old Fart Wei, who was sleeping on the bed, opened his eyes and glanced at the direction where Liang Qiu and Wang Zhen disappeared. His wrinkled face did not show any joy or anger, but he seemed to be deep in thought. Hit him until he turns back. Liang Qiu said coldly. After a while, the blankness in his eyes dissipated. On a treetop about 40 feet away from the training grounds, 2 figures stood quietly. One of them was impressively Liang Qiu. Beside him stood a man dressed in a gray martial outfit. The man looked simple and honest with a pair of thick calluses on his hands. He stared fixedly at the 2 people fighting. Tang Tian and a Maori were in awe. Wu'an Star was an outer planet. Although it was known as the birthplace of humanity, but after tens of thousands of years of development, Wu'an Star had become a truly remote wilderness. Hey old fart, what exactly is Heaven's Road like? Tang Tian asked curiously. Noticing that Tang Tian was looking at him, Old Fart Wei raised his right hand and greeted. Aha, you guys continue. The so-called bedevilment refers to a person entering an explosive state due to certain stimuli. Once bedevilment occurs, a person's potential will suddenly explode. At this time, the martial artist's strength will increase exponentially, becoming abnormally strong. Sora. Amauri had long recognized that Tang Tian was using the flash fist technique. The characteristics of the flash fist technique were very unique and easy to identify. Among the rank 2 martial techniques, flash fist technique was not considered unorthodox. Although there were not many martial artists who trained in fist techniques, it was not a popular martial technique. But Amauri was not unfamiliar with it at all. Amauri kept his satisfied expression and sat up straight. Old Fart, you've been to Heaven's Road before? Wang Zhen's attainment in the flash fist technique was extremely profound, and Amauri had personally experienced it. Half an hour later. Furthermore, Tang Tian's attack frequency was even faster, like a torrential downpour, pressuring people to the point of suffocation. Bedevilment. Old Fart Wei muttered to himself. Wang Zhen turned his head to look at Tang Tian, his eyes flashing a hint of passion. He turned around and followed Liang Qiu disappearing. When I was young I wandered around for a few years. Old Fart Wei laughed. Even if he did not bedevilment, his flash fist technique was executed beautifully. And look, his footwork and the rhythm of his attacks are all outstanding. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't dare to believe that a retainer would have such strength. Wang Zhen was slightly moved. His gaze landed on the 2 people who were fighting, and his eyes flashed a hint of surprise. Amauri clenched his teeth and held on. But if he were to use a rank 3 martial technique, wouldn't that mean that he had lost? Old Fart Wei had always looked at Amauri in a different light. Those students who were more famous than Amauri in his eyes were only older than Amauri and had trained for a longer period of time. The first time Old Fart Wei met Amauri was a few years ago, and Amauri was the most talented martial artist he had ever seen. Amauri's body condition was very astonishing, and his understanding of martial techniques was also very shocking. His state of mind was pure in the morning and he was able to endure hardships. This was why Amauri was able to become a famous expert in Beast Academy at such a young age. He had been observing Amauri in the dark for a few years, and he was very clear about Amauri's body condition. This was the first time he saw someone whose body condition was not inferior to Amauri's. Chapter 14. Old Fart Wei reacted and laughed out loud. You have ambition, but even a qualified close-quarters combat expert would need to suffer a bit. Close-quarters combat. Old Fart Wei spat out 4 words. Close-quarters combat requires a balanced physique and extremely strong reaction speed, a ferocious aura and a fearless heart. The requirements for fundamental martial techniques are especially high. How about it? Young lad, isn't it interesting? Close-quarters combat expert, what a cool name. Tang Tian listened attentively and hurriedly asked, what's suitable? You need to strengthen your own reaction speed so that in a shorter time, you can attack more accurately. Ambitious. I like ambitious young lads. Old Fart Wei said, let's talk about your path of development. Your physique is outstanding, your foundation is good, your reaction speed is fast, your aura is strong, and you are fierce and domineering. These are all your strengths. Do you know what's suitable? Old Fart Wei saw that his move was ineffective and clenched his teeth. Speak, what are your conditions? The 2 of them did not move and looked at Old Fart Wei. Crackle crackle, Amauri talked for 3 minutes and then stopped. It's too expensive. Tang Tian raised his head and said calmly, such an expensive thing, I can't accept it. Done. Tang Tian said with satisfaction. A ray of light flashed in Old Fart Wei's eyes. Let's go back to mental cultivation. Since you chose to be a close-quarters combat expert, I have a very powerful mental cultivation spirit card here. But this mental cultivation is not easy to train. What's this for? Old Fart Wei was confused. It's very hard to learn. Old Fart Wei reminded. Spending so much time on fundamental martial techniques, to be honest, you've already missed the golden period. Old Fart Wei's expression congealed. For a person, the golden 5 years are between the ages of 12 to 17. And for these 5 years, you've spent them all on fundamental martial techniques. Many people might think that you're wasting your time, but I feel that there are pros and cons Tang Tian did not utter a word, but looked at old Fart Wei strangely. Tang Tian, all right. Tang Tian nodded and raised his palm. Maori was surprised. Fundamental Tang, you also saw through his plot? Maori and Tang Tian looked at each other and had a bad feeling. That makes sense. I have to practice all of them. That's it. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. There's no need to deny it, old man. Since you're our principal, well, we can talk about anything. Tang Tian had a you-know-what-I-mean expression on his face. Contrary to old Fart Wei and Maori's expectations, Tang Tian shook his head and pushed the spirit card back. I don't want it. Maori also perked up and pricked up his ears. Old Fart Wei said, as long as you can do all these, you can become a qualified, or even an outstanding close-quarters combat expert. Without any benefits, Tang Tian and Maori were a little listless. Old Fart Wei suddenly felt some pressure and coughed lightly. About that 2 days ago, I just checked on our school's accumulated points, and the result was that we don't have enough points. You guys know if the school's accumulated points are not enough, they will be disqualified. Oh, it's almost time for the Star Wind Martial Meet. As long as you guys participate in the Star Wind Martial Meet and get good results, the school's accumulated points will be more or less enough. As the school's geniuses, you guys can't just watch the school fall like this, right? Pa Tang Tian snatched the spirit card and said seriously, I know you're good to me, old man. I will definitely become a close-quarters combat expert no matter what, I will give it my all. Tell me what's the matter. Housefly cow, you come? Tang Tian waved his hand like a boss. Old Fart Wei smiled. Are you done? Ancient spirit card? Very powerful. Old Fart Wei nodded. Will Chia like it too? Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Rank 3 mental cultivation method? What suggestions do you have? Tang Tian asked casually. Tang Tian nodded without a hint of modesty. Ah, old man, you have a good eye. Spittle flew everywhere unceasingly. Old Fart Wei waved his hand with a face of rascal. I forgot to mention just now, I've already helped you guys register. Old Fart Wei, that's right. Tang Tian's face was full of pride and said, in front of a godlike man, whatever demons or ghosts, they will all return to their original forms. With his wretched character, why would he treat us to barbecue? If he's unaccountably solicitous, he's hiding evil intentions. Wah, old man, didn't you say you only had 1 silver spirit card? Maori looked as though he had discovered a new continent. You're really treacherous. But since you gave it to Fundamental Tang, I won't argue with you. Fundamental Tang, you look very powerful, hurry up and train. Old Fart Wei was startled by Tang Tian's gaze and touched his face. Is there something on my face? Clap your hands to make an oath. Wah, old man, you're such a country bumpkin. Tang Tian's face was full of disdain. The two of them squatted down, opened their eyes wide and looked innocently at old Fart Wei, their gazes pure and flawless. You lousy kid, don't learn from adults. Do you know what clap your hands to make an oath? Old Fart Wei retorted with the same disdain. Tang Tian's eyes lit up and nodded. I like this. I love fighting. Old man, I couldn't tell, but you have some skills. Don't look down on me. Tang Tian stared. Maori's copper bell-like eyes flashed and his carrot-thick fingers started to move quickly. Points are not easy to earn now. Star Wind Martial Meet students from all over the city can participate. Thinking about the cruel process, it's simply infuriating. How many people do we have to fight? The silver-white card was shining and on it was a white figure sitting cross-legged. The card was cold and hard. Tang Tian never thought that old Fart Wei would actually give him a silver-white card. Tang Tian retracted his gaze with a face full of righteousness. I can do it too. You need to have a variety of hand-to-hand techniques. Remember, you are a close-quarters combat expert, not a boxer. Fist techniques, palm techniques, finger techniques, joint techniques, you have to learn all of them. You need to ensure that, after you close the distance between both parties, you have enough methods to quickly finish off the opponent. Oh, now let's talk about this spirit card. Old Fart Wei's expression suddenly became serious. This card was obtained by me in my early years, but at that time I had already surpassed the 3rd level, so I kept it. This spirit card is called Crane-Style Chi Manual. It is an ancient mental cultivation spirit card. The price of a rank 3 mental cultivation spirit card was unimaginable to him. Maori raised both his hands. I want to be a close-quarters combat expert too. But Hehe, you're very ambitious, young man. Old Fart Wei laughed and took out a card. I hope you don't disgrace this spirit card. A more practical problem? Tang Tian unhappily twitched his mouth. Hey, old fart, you're not trying to trick us to do something bad again, are you? I'm not afraid of hardship. Tang Tian shook his head and said seriously. Tang Tian heartlessly shook his head. In front of a godlike young man, any difficulties are nothing. Tang Tian and Amauri were moved. Is it very powerful? Tang Tian asked curiously. Hehe, when you grow up, oh, your woman will like this title too. Old Fart Wei said with a wretched face. Amauri did not understand. Why not? Can't you? Tang Tian suddenly turned and asked Amauri. Nonsense. Tang Tian stared at him angrily. Look down on me, Chia, and I will slap hands and swear. Old Fart Wei choked and then flew into a rage. As students of this school, how can you be so indifferent to the fate of the school? Have your blood turned cold? Are you still men? This broken kid sure has a lot of tricks. Old Fart Wei mumbled. Rank 3 mental cultivation method, young man, what do you think? Old Fart Wei looked at Tang Tian and suddenly said, your true power is already at the 2nd level, you should quickly enter the 3rd level. That's right. You must strengthen it. Qualified. Outstanding. I want to be a godlike close quarters combat expert. Tang Tian's face was as it should be and immediately became unhappy. You actually look down on me. Hehe. That's not good enough. Oh, of course. Old Fart Wei almost choked on his own saliva and lightly coughed a few times. But you are still far from being a close quarters combat expert. To become a qualified close quarters combat expert, other than what you already have, you need to have outstanding light body techniques, and you need to quickly close the distance between both parties. If your light body techniques are not good, then you're dead meat. Old Fart Wei laughed. There's no use telling you now, wait till you become a close quarters combat expert, then I'll tell you. You've asked the right person. Old Fart Wei's face showed that he was worth teaching. To enter the 3rd level, other than mental cultivation method, more importantly, you need to start defining your path of development. Blindly being greedy will only scatter your energy and cause you to achieve nothing. Haha. Old Fart Wei laughed. But this road of yours is destined to be bumpy, you need to be mentally prepared. Amauri. Oh, quickly say it, quickly say it. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. For so many years, whenever people talked about him, they would be filled with regret and puzzlement. This was the first time he heard someone say that there were pros and cons. Old Fart Wei was silent for a moment, and fiercely slapped his thigh. As expected of the two geniuses. Nothing can be hidden from your eyes. Alright, then I'll be straightforward. Old Fart Wei ignored him. You've spent a total of 5 years on the fundamental martial techniques. Your foundation is very solid and it's rather comprehensive. This will be of great help to you in the future when you train your martial techniques. If you practice other martial skills, you will be able to master them quickly. As long as you persevere, you can definitely make up for the lost time. Young lad, I have high hopes for you. That's right, set a sky-high price and return it as low as you can. Amauri added. Tang Tian was startled. That sounds reasonable. Tang Tian's gaze swept across the spirit card and was momentarily stunned. Silver grade card? That's right. Tang Tian clapped his hands. You must train in light body techniques. Reality proved that a profiteer could not beat a scoundrel. That's right. You must be hiding evil intentions. Amauri raised his voice and agreed. Old Fart Wei was slightly surprised and stared at Tang Tian for a while and suddenly laughed. This spirit card is not for nothing. I have something to ask of you. If you can't become a close quarters combat expert, then I won't have any hope for my matter. Oh, you don't dare to accept? Could it be that you have no confidence in yourself? Tang Tian stared at Old Fart Wei angrily. Old Fart, who doesn't dare to accept? Who doesn't have confidence? I want to do it too. I want to do it too. Amauri leaned over and extended his hand. No one cared about him. Heaven's Road. Old Fart Wei's face revealed a look of reminiscence and with a tinge of confusion. That is a dangerous place full of opportunities. One old and one young, the two palms struck each other heavily. Don't want. Old Fart Wei was stunned. Why? He glanced at Tang Tian and Amauri and changed the topic. All right, Heaven's Road is still very far away from you guys. Let's talk about a more practical problem now. Chapter 15. Tang Tian retorted with disdain, "Housefly cow, just wait to be beaten like a dog." Southern Cross constellation is located between Musca constellation and Centaurus constellation, and is the smallest constellation. The Southern Cross constellation's star treasure. Up till now, only one has appeared, and that is the Southern Cross hardship plate. As for its use, I have not found any relevant records, Brother Tian. You have to figure it out yourself. Judging from the name, it should be a star treasure used for cultivation. Those numbers, if I am not wrong, should be related to triggering the bronze plate. Brother Tian, you must remember, do not tell anyone about the bronze plate. Be careful not to attract bad people. The Southern Cross hardship plate is a very good clue. It is the only Southern Cross constellation's star treasure found so far. As long as we go to Southern Cross constellation, we can definitely find more clues. I have already started to collect information on the Southern Cross constellation. Brother Tian, isn't Chia very powerful? Quickly praised Chia. Although Tang Tian was said to be less talented than a Maori, he was not angry. His talent was not as good as housefly cows. He felt lucky in this era. Training only required one spirit card. Every name was in legends, in epics, in books. They were so far away. No matter how difficult or dangerous it is, nothing can stop me. You actually know how to read. Tang Tian was flabbergasted. As long as he broke through to the 4th level, he could train in the Zhou family's famous martial technique. Wooden heart sword wheel. I will definitely get to the bottom of this. Mom, I am not afraid. The current heavenly crane constellation is still ruled by the Crane sect, which was established by the inheritor of the Crane's spiritual master. But the current heavenly crane constellation is no longer as glorious as it was in the past, and has become a fringe constellation of Heaven's Road. Old Fart Wei shook his head regretfully. The Crane sect's inheritor is probably destroyed. If not, it would not be in such a sorry state. There are pros and cons, Old Fart Wei muttered. In the past, from start to finish, only one type of mental cultivation was enough and the power was stronger. But if one of the mental cultivation techniques were to be lost, it would be terrible. And now our Dantian Pool's stairway to heaven is much easier to learn. Moreover, we can learn all kinds of mental cultivation methods. As a result, the threshold for learning is much lower. Rank 3 meant practicing rank 3 mental cultivation techniques and martial techniques. As long as the attributes were the same, one could practice them. If not for this, how could there be the prosperity of today's martial artists? The ancient sects paid too much attention to inheritance. The martial artists they nurtured were more powerful, but the price they had to pay was also higher. If this was in ancient times, a Maori might have been chosen as a disciple. Young man Tang, you're doomed. It'll be difficult for you to even enter the sect. Your son will not disgrace you. The wooden heart sword was famous. It was the best of the rank 4 martial techniques of the Zhou clan. It was famous for its strange transformations. Special training? Tang Tian and a Maori were immediately attracted. Tang Tian read the letter over and over again, word by word. After reading it a few times, he carefully folded it and kept it. Zhou Peng had a high possibility of successfully cultivating the wooden heart sword wheel. Zhou Mu's face was expressionless. Wait till you become the patriarch. Tang Tian raised his right fist and swore to his mother in the heavens and said to himself, I don't know much about the crane-style chi manual. I only know that its chi channels are long and is good for prolonged battles. I feel that it suits you very well. To a close-quarters combat expert, physical strength is very important. As for the rest, you still need to explore it yourself, but it's said that it's very hard to train. This crane-style chi manual spirit card was obtained by me in the past. Although it's different from the mental cultivation method now, it's still much better than the average mental cultivation method. Old Fart Wei immediately waved his hand. All right, that's all I know. Don't ask me about the rest. However, the wooden heart sword was extremely difficult to train. Many disciples had tried to train in it, but all of them failed. Generations of Zhou clan disciples who trained in it did not fail. Then which one is better? Tang Tian could not help but ask. Seeing that Zhou Peng had opened his eyes, Zhou Mu said expressionlessly, I just received news that Tang Tian has registered to participate in this year's Star Wind Martial Meet. The Patriarch has registered you, and this is your chance to wipe away your shame. Tang Tian scratched his head. It sounds very powerful. A Maori was slightly excited. Fundamental Tang, hurry up and train. Wait till your true power is at the 3rd level, then we'll fight again. I've also come up with many powerful techniques and I'll definitely beat you down. Old Fart Wei interrupted the two of them. What are you arguing about? Hurry up and train. Hey, let me tell you guys, in order for you guys to not embarrass me in the Star Wind Martial meet, I've prepared a special training for you guys. The astonishing number of star rocks when piled up was equally astonishing. A Maori blushed. Occasionally. Ancient spirit cards were synonymous with high-quality spirit cards. Wood-type martial techniques were the Zhou clan's most proficient martial techniques, and in this line of martial techniques, the Zhou clan's inheritance was profound. For the Zhou clan to be able to stand alone in Wuan Star, naturally they had their own unique points. The Zhou clan was most famous for their series of wood-type martial techniques. Zhou Peng's current true power was not far from the 3rd level of perfection, and very soon he would be able to rush into the 4th level. 4th level true power in the entire Star Wind City's academies was definitely a top expert. The two of them suddenly understood and nodded their heads. Tang Tian's expression was normal, but his heart was in turmoil. If not for Xia, he would never have believed it. Opening the envelope, the pink envelope emitted a faint fragrance, and Xia's graceful handwriting appeared in front of Tang Tian's eyes. Tang Tian carefully, as though he was holding a treasure, greedily reading every word. The letter was very long and it was obvious that Xia had written it for a long time. Tang Tian silently muttered in his heart, his eyes dazed. But all these star treasures were all linked to great heroes and exceptional martial artists. For example, Lion King Lei Ang's Raging Lion Heart Sword was a Leo constellation star treasure. Archer Saint Ho Yi Tian's Heavenly Bow was Sagittarius constellation's #1 treasure. Mom, you're past. What exactly is it? I will definitely become the patriarch. I will kill you. Kill Tang Tian. Kill everyone who goes against me. Zhou Peng said fiercely. Finished, without saying a word, he picked up a star rock and started to instigate his mental cultivation. After a while, the star rock lost its light, and with a crack, it shattered and the pieces fell down. The floor was covered with a thick layer of these pieces, and Zhou Peng's consumption of star rocks in the past few days was astonishing. Tang Tian's mood was bright, not only because he received the crane-style Qi manual from Old Fart Wei, but also because he received Qia's letter. Secret star treasure. The copper plate was actually a secret star treasure. Brother Tian, how have you been recently? I miss you very much. Everything here is so boring. I don't like this place. I don't like the rules here. I don't like the people here. Brother Tian, wait for you to come. We will secretly go to Heaven's Road. I have already started to prepare. They don't know. They don't believe in Brother Tian, but I believe Brother Tian will definitely succeed. I'm 100% sure of it. Alright, Brother Tian, I finally found some clues about the bronze plate. The cross on the bronze plate is the symbol of the Southern Cross constellation. If the book is not wrong, it is most likely the Southern Cross constellation star treasure. Its name is the Southern Cross hardship plate. In all the star treasures, there is very little information about it. Zhou Peng's eyes were filled with deep hatred and killing intent. He is dead. I will personally kill him. Zhou Mu, wait for me to become the patriarch. You are dead. Zhou Peng clenched his teeth and said. Finished, he turned around and immersed himself in training. Hey, you will know when the time comes. Old Fart Wei laughed sinisterly. Tang Tian's expression congealed and became serious. He looked extremely carefully. Maori's eyes lit up. Wawa, I have heard of this name before. The ancient Eastern martial artists were all very powerful. I remember there was a book that said the crane's spiritual master swept across the land. Heaven's road was long, the stars were like the sea. These stars were divided into constellations. According to legend, every constellation would have a unique mystical treasure, and that was the star treasure. Zhou Peng's innate talent and bone structure was not bad, his wood-type bone structure was outstanding, and he was outstanding among the younger generation of the Zhou family disciples. It was just that he was usually too hedonistic, lawless, and now that he was forced into a corner, he had nowhere to retreat and improved unexpectedly fast. The so-called ancient spirit cards were spirit cards that had been passed down since ancient times. To be able to withstand the annihilation of time and still be preserved, the martial spirit imprint on the card would definitely be condensed and pure. Zhou Mu did not give any face and even personally taught Zhou Peng a few lessons, Zhou Peng knew that there was no chance of getting lucky this time, and actually displayed a rarely seen ruthlessness. Voila, a basin of ice water was poured over his head. This card is a genuine Crane Sect Mental Cultivation Spirit card. It has been around for a long time. The mental cultivation of the Crane Sect is famous for being hard to cultivate. This is probably the reason why the Crane Sect kept on falling. The mental cultivation at that time was not the same as what we have now. They paid more attention to continuity and could not be used between each other. But the mental cultivation now is more focused on the level and not on continuity. Suddenly one day Tang Tian found a bronze plate that had accompanied him since he was young. It was actually a star treasure. Although it looked ordinary, Tang Tian could smell a trace of something unusual from it. The letter had been through the long heavens road, and the envelope was already somewhat old. Why didn't you tell me, Tang Tian? You can do it. Zhou Peng's skin was tanned, his lips were parched, he was too tired, he could not even open his eyes. If Zhou Peng could cultivate the wooden heart sword wheel, then the matter of him becoming the next patriarch would be set in stone. Even the great clan elder would definitely not object. But very quickly he woke up, his heart was filled with a heroic spirit. The bewilderment in his eyes was swept away, and he once again clenched his fist. The creator of this card is the pioneer of the heavenly crane constellation, known as the Crane Dancer, the Crane Spiritual Master. Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed with respect. Chapter 16. Do you know why you were suppressed by Tang Tian? Unknowingly, Old Fart Wei had a broken blade in his hand, and his expression was serious, which was rarely seen. The spirit card suddenly exploded with light rays, and the dazzling silver light flooded the entire room. A clear cry of a crane suddenly sounded out in Tang Tian's heart. Tang Tian drew a line with his pen, his expression focused. Tang Tian walked to the front of the light door, and sure enough, on the light door, there was a white crane flapping its wings, looking very real. The white crane's gaze was as sharp as an arrow, its claws were like steel, its body was graceful, and its beak was sharp. Seems like it. Amauri's face showed that he was deep in thought. Stepping into the third level, the explosive increase in true power made Tang Tian feel that he had an endless amount of energy, and was unprecedentedly strong. Tang Tian could not help but be speechless. The ancient martial artists were really powerful, such complicated things, even he was slightly dizzy. Tang Tian stood up, the hesitation on his face was swept away, and he became firm and resolute again. Yes, he did not have time to waste. If he could not even endure this pain, then what dream was there to talk about? Chia, I recently made a friend called Amauri. He is a very interesting person. Although he is ugly and looks very fierce, he is actually a good person. He is a chatterbox, has a bad brain, and is even more stupid than me. Sometimes he is a little annoying and often provokes me. I call him Housefly Cow. His dream is to pursue his own martial path. I am a little worried for his intelligence, but I will help him because he said that I am a godlike man. Oh, I feel that this nickname suits me very well. Chia, let me tell you a piece of good news. I have already started to train in rank 2 martial techniques. I have just experienced an extremely powerful 10 days of training, although it is very difficult, but to a godlike man all the training is a piece of cake. Oh, I completed it easily, but I will not be arrogant. I do not have much time, I cannot waste it. Although the new principal looks wretched, he is a good person. He gave me a silver mental cultivation spirit card, and it is an ancient spirit card. I will quickly go to Immortal Constellation to find you. You have to bring me to eat golden coconut. That's right. You have to learn to go all out against any opponent. This is the respect a martial artist deserves. You shouldn't be like this. Furthermore, although your talent is stronger than Tang Tian's, you lack his ferocity. Old Fart Wei said. Tang Tian raised his arms high and shouted like a hero. As expected. Southern Cross Constellation Hardship Plate. That's right, although he admired Fundamental Tang, he did not pay enough attention to Fundamental Tang. Without Tang Tian's ferocity, he would naturally be suppressed. The morning sun shone into the house through the wooden window, bringing with it a trace of the unique coldness of the morning, but also warmth and hope. He doesn't look like he's easy to deal with, Tang Tian muttered. He stared at the route in a daze. Suddenly he exclaimed as if he had discovered a new continent. Looks like I did a good job. Tang Tian was pleasantly surprised. Sure enough, good things kept happening one after another. Ever since the last ascetic cultivation he hadn't come here again. He didn't expect that there would be a second round of ascetic cultivation. Ferocity. Amaury muttered to himself. Tang Tian's strongest point is that he is fearless. It's as if he doesn't know what fear is. You can't do that. Fear isn't shameful. It's human instinct. But if you want to become stronger, you have to overcome it. Old Fartway rarely used such a sharp tone. At this moment he didn't have any of his usual sloppiness. He was like an unsheathed blade. At the edge of the third-tier Dantian pool, there were countless of tiny meridians. These meridians were the routes of the third-tier mental cultivation method. Every level of mental cultivation method involved different meridians. You're too obsessed with meaningless things. For example, the last time, why did you use your bare hands? You specialize in the blade, but you actually used your bare hands to fight with Tang Tian. Don't you think that's wrong? Old Fartway squinted his eyes. The more he looked, the more he felt that it was the case. Aha, I'm indeed a genius. With one look I can see through the essence. Even a godlike young lad couldn't take it. Tang Tian's palm warmed up. The light arrow seemed to be attracted and drilled into his palm. If he didn't recognize it, such a complicated mental cultivation method, wouldn't he die from it? Crane-style Qi manual. S routes were too complicated. Compared to Crane-style Qi manual, Secrets of Cultivating Qi was as simple as a piece of white paper. No wonder he felt that it was so complicated. That Crane's spiritual master was so bored that his balls hurt. He actually came up with such a strange route map. Amaury's eyes turned red. He clenched his fists tightly. This was the first time he was understood by someone. The silver light that filled the sky transformed into a light arrow and entered Tang Tian's body. Amaury immediately became spirited. Why? Tang Tian had completed the most important task. Without any worries, he decided to start training. Crane-style Qi manual. Silver spirit card, ancient spirit card, any one of these points meant that it was not cheap. Combining the two together, even Tang Tian, who had no business sense, could guess that it was expensive. Tang Tian disapproved of Crane's spiritual master. To him, the simpler things in this world, the better. Tang Tian really guessed a part of it correctly. The mental cultivation method of the Crane sect was too complicated. It was indeed the main reason why the Crane sect declined. The third-level Dantian pool gradually stabilized. Tang Tian persisted in activating Crane-style Qi manual. This training lasted for 2 whole hours before the Dantian pool was filled again. We are the same kind of people, Amaury. I had the same dream in the past. I couldn't achieve it, but it's not a pity. It's a pity that I'm old and can't walk anymore. Amaury, I hope that you can walk further than me. I hope that you can achieve this great dream. That is also my dream. He was telling the story of his heart, telling the story of his life. Your talent is outstanding. Your character is simple. You are very suitable for blade techniques. This is the reason why I like you. You are more suitable for blade techniques than Tang Tian. He is a natural-born close-quarters combat expert. Old Fartway said in a deep voice. I know that you are determined to create your own path of martial arts. This is a great dream. Many people will laugh at you for overestimating yourself. But to me this dream is great. Those who laugh at you are all people without dreams. They are very timid. They stand on small hills and look at the distant mountain peaks. They don't even have the courage to think about it. At this time Tang Tian had the spirit body possession. Crane-style Qi manual. All sorts of tricks flowed quickly in his mind. His heart moved. He started to activate Crane-style Qi manual. Wah, young man Tang is fearless. Go. Just like the previous time, he passed through the white crane on the cross door. The moment he passed through the cross door, his body trembled. The white crane on the cross door shattered. At this time he suddenly noticed a line of words behind the cross door. You don't have time to waste. The first round of hardship training is completed. Completion rate is good. The second round of hardship training is activated. Duration, 10 days. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. He activated his mental cultivation. After going back and forth a few times, he was more and more certain that the circulation route of Crane-style Qi manual was just right to outline the shape of a crane. Amaury was speechless. Tang Tian's ruthlessness, Amaury had a deeper impression of it. But since he had boasted previously, Tang Tian braced himself. He started to follow the circulation route of Cultivating Qi manual and carefully activated his true power. When Xie received this letter, he would definitely become stronger. The simple-minded Tang Tian was immediately filled with adrenaline. He was full of fighting spirit again. He also felt that it was weird. He did not know why, but every time he fought with Tang Tian, he would always be suppressed by Tang Tian. He could not understand it. Old Fart Wei was like a different person. He held his blade and stood upright. His imposing manner was unparalleled. His head of white hair fluttered in the air. All great dreams sound like a joke. All great roads are destined to be bumpy. But so what? Other than staying where you are to avoid being tripped by the stones on the road, which road in this world is smooth? Life is destined to be difficult. If you don't even have dreams, then you will be overshadowed. Tang Tian finally understood why Old Fart Wei said that crane-style Qi manual was hard to train. The capacity of the newly formed Dantian pool was many times larger than the Dantian pool below. The second-tier Dantian pool was like a small teacup, then the third-tier Dantian pool was like a small basin. Wild Earth Blade. Maori, are you willing to learn? But the wall of perfection instantly shattered. In Maori's mind, an oppressive figure appeared. Without hesitation, he shook his head. No. Isn't this just the shape of a crane? The complicated route caused Tang Tian to feel dizzy. Since he had discovered the secret of crane-style Qi manual, this crane-style Qi manual was no longer a problem for Tang Tian. Looking at the shape of the crane, he fumbled a few times. Tang Tian memorized the route of the mental cultivation method. Tang Tian's mind trembled. The clear cry of the crane seemed to contain a kind of emotion. I will do my best to learn. I don't mind you inheriting this sect. I only hope that you will not take a detour. Such a great dream. This road is destined to be filled with endless hardships and sufferings. What I have walked on is only a small part of it. All I can provide you is only this little bit of strength. That's right. It's ruthless. Old Fart Wei squinted his eyes. If Tang Tian had a target like Liang Qiu, he would definitely kill without hesitation. If he was defeated, he would come back in 2 days. If he failed, he would come back again. He would definitely fight until he won. This shows that you do not value Tang Tian enough. Old Fart Wei hit the nail on the head. I heard that Liang Qiu is your target. If you were to fight against Liang Qiu, would you use your bare hands? The first thing he did when he woke up was to write a letter to Xie. Carefully, he took out the silver card and injected true power into it. When Tang Tian's eyes swept across the line of words, he froze. Above the Dantian pool there was a strong suction force. The true power in the Dantian pool turned into a thin stream and flowed upwards. In the blink of an eye, a brand new Dantian pool formed above the second-tier Dantian pool. He carefully sealed the letter. But Tang Tian did not immediately start his hardship training. The previous hardship training had left him with lingering fears. The continuous crazy hardship training was simply a form of torture. He could not remember how he managed to endure it. But the hardship training was truly terrifying. He thought of Xie, thought of everyone's promise, and thought of the oath he swore. The decline of the Crane sect really deserved it. An indescribable feeling filled his entire body. Tang Tian's perfect second-tier Dantian pool suddenly gave birth to a surge of power. He had to get back the 5 years. He had to work hard to find Xie and go to Heaven's Road. Chapter 17. To become a godlike close-quarters combat expert. Maori's tone was filled with envy. He felt that to be able to sleep for 3 days was an incredible thing. Old Fart Wei grinned and hugged him. I had no choice but to thicken my skin and borrow your place for a while. At least when Tang Tian came out from the cross-light door, he was awake and not unconscious. Maori laughed out loud. Fundamental Tang, I have also learnt a new martial technique, Wild Earth Blade. It is very powerful. Come, let us spar. This time I will definitely treat it seriously. Old Fart is right, only by using the strongest martial technique to defeat the opponent is the greatest respect to the enemy. Old Fart Wei shook his head and pointed at Maori. He majored in blade techniques and I had my eyes on him for a few years. Finally I lured him, recruited him. At this time a middle-aged man walked over. Looking at the entire Wu and Star Crystal Sky Academy was one of the top schools. The quality of the bronze level card was not high and the creator of the Flash Fist technique was probably not that proficient in the Flash Fist technique. You are finally here. The old man suddenly laughed, took a step forward and opened his arms. A Maori had long heard Tang Tian's voice. He stopped and turned around with the wooden blade resting on his shoulder. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Looking at Tang Tian, he laughed. "Fundamental Tang, you are finally awake. I wanted to wake you up, but the old man said you were mentally exhausted and told you to sleep. But you were able to sleep for 3 days, that is amazing." The flash fist technique was even more so. Tang Tian once again fell into a deep sleep. This was not the first time Tang Tian had done such a thing. Tang Tian was stunned. He walked out of the wooden house, stuffed his hands into his pockets and walked to the side of the training grounds. He jumped onto a wooden pole at the side of the training grounds. "Yo, young lad, you are very hardworking." The three of them were dressed in a way that was incompatible with Crystal Sky Academy. Tang Tian was not satisfied with this result. He was used to 100% perfect strike rate and 74% was too horrible to look at. However, he was not in a hurry. After 5 years of training in fundamental martial techniques, he was even more patient. Yes. The two of us are geniuses. We're definitely worth a lot of money." A Maori nodded repeatedly. Tang Tian's face immediately revealed an incomparably brilliant smile. Old man, I'm saying that you're simply too amazing. You can even train this stupid cow." The middle-aged man still had a faint smile on his face. Although he hid his emotions very well, he couldn't help but show some disdain when he heard these two sentences. "Who are you calling a country bumpkin?" A gloomy voice came from behind Tang Tian. The training this time was still painful, but it was much better than the last time. What shocked him even more was that his third-level crane true power actually had a slight improvement. This guy must be doing this on purpose. "What are you screaming for?" Old Fart Wei suddenly stared at a Maori. A Maori immediately kept quiet out of fear. Crystal Sky Academy was huge. After walking for a while, they finally reached the principal's office. When the middle-aged man saw the old man standing at the door, his heart suddenly jumped. He had followed the principal for many years, but this was the first time he saw the principal standing outside to welcome them personally. However, the three of them did not have any uneasiness. Old Fart Wei, on the other hand, had a dignified look on his face. Tang Tian and a Maori had a look of curious babies. Whatever they saw, they would exclaim in surprise. The midday sun brought with it a scorching heat wave and it hit him head-on. There were many facilities in Crystal Sky Academy that they had never seen before. He's not an ordinary close-quarters combat expert. The old man's eyes were filled with interest. He laughed. "Let's talk inside. Assistant Sue, bring these two kids around." Then he pulled Tang Tian over. "I think he's more suited to be a close-quarters combat expert. You know, I'm not good at this. I don't want to hold him up, so I brought him along." Tang Tian had a strange feeling in his heart. He subconsciously scratched his head. Could it be that something happened in the 3 days that he was asleep? Since when did this stupid cow listen to old Fart Wei? As such, the success rate of the flash fist rose rapidly. The highest success rate he had ever achieved was 74%. "I am," Old Fart Wei said casually. Old Fart Wei nodded his head and said to Tang Tian and a Maori, "Follow him, don't get lost." Bronze spirit cards contain the most superficial and vague understanding. How to strengthen it, how to cultivate it to a deeper level, depended on the individual's understanding and hard work. This made Tang Tian very happy. Tang Tian could not help but say, "Old Fart, we're all cleaner than you." Tang Tian quivered. When he turned his head, he saw Old Fart Wei staring at him with an unkind face. Although the spirit card possession method could allow a person to quickly learn it, it also had a few flaws. Crystal Sky Academy was the #1 school in Starwind City, and was also the most prestigious school in Starwind City. To be able to enter the school, one was either rich or noble, or they were geniuses. Other than the few years when Xianxia appeared out of nowhere, Crystal Sky Academy's #1 position was as stable as a boulder. In the entire Starwind City, it had the strongest teachers, the most complete training facilities, the biggest Star Rock shop, the most high-end spirit card shop. On the training grounds, a Maori was sweating profusely. Every blade was extremely serious. "Alright, today I'll bring you guys to a place." Old Fart Wei waved his hand. "Go and clean up, don't embarrass me." But such a crazy training made him mentally exhausted. The veins on Tang Tian's forehead twitched and he pretended to be deep in thought. Of course, a godlike young lad sleeps like a god. This is called a sleeping god. Oh, housefly cow, you must work hard. I'm now training, crane-style chi manual. It's very fierce, be careful not to be beaten like a dog by me. Tang Tian and Amauri looked at the 4 big words above their heads, their faces sluggish. On it was written Crystal Sky Academy, and around the 3 of them, there was an endless stream of people. These people were all dressed in extraordinary clothes and had an imposing appearance. Hey old fart, are you sure you didn't bring us to the wrong place? Amauri could not help but ask. Excuse me, are you Principal Wei? His flash fist technique success rate fluctuated between 60% and 70%. As the number of times he trained increased, Tang Tian realized that there were some slight inconsistencies. He tried to correct these inconsistencies, and it was because of this that the success rate of the flash fist technique increased significantly. Tang Tian could not explain it, but the fundamental fist techniques were imprinted into his bones and became his instinct. What was right, what was awkward, he could feel it. Yes, and he's not an ordinary close-quarters combat expert. Old Fort Wei said. Tang Tian's perception was average, but his fundamentals were very solid. After training for a long time, some of the inconsistencies would immediately be blown away like dust and appear. Oh, why are my eyelids so heavy? So sleepy, he pushed open the door and the sunlight outside made his eyes bright. Before he finished his sentence, he disappeared from their sight like a wisp of smoke. When he was training the fundamental martial techniques, he had already gotten used to it. If he followed his teacher's teachings, it would always be difficult to reach a more perfect stage. His fundamental martial techniques could only be trained to such a perfect stage, was because of his constant correction. His crane-style chi manual improved at lightning speed, and the concentration of energy behind the cross door was very high. Crane-style chi manual had already reached a certain scale. The complex and profound mental cultivation route, Tang Tian remembered it by heart. The crane shape was to draw a small crane. Rank 2 fist techniques and fundamental fist techniques were closely related, and the flash fist technique was no exception. Although this result was not as shocking as Wang Zhen's, but if it was released it would definitely scare a lot of people. Close quarters combat expert? Old Fart Wei's eyes flashed and could not help but re-evaluate Tang Tian. Between us, there's no need to say such polite words. Old Fart Wei laughed, turned his face and looked up and down at Tang Tian and Amauri and asked with interest, "These are the disciples you chose?" The middle-aged man hurriedly bowed and replied, "Yes." Crane-style chi manual was indeed like what Old Fart Wei said. The chi channels were long and lasting. Tang Tian's endurance was already very shocking, and with the addition of crane-style chi manual, he did not know how it would be used in actual combat, but it was very suitable for training. The training time was greatly increased, and this directly caused his training speed to increase by leaps and bounds. The 2 of them obediently followed behind him. Tang Tian's head was full of black lines and he muttered softly, "It's over, this brat has already been brainwashed by that country bumpkin old fart." Tang Tian's thinking was very simple. As long as he changed the awkward parts to not awkward, the higher the success rate of the flash fist technique, the more correct it would be. After such a torment, his flash fist technique began to quietly change, and became more filled with Tang Tian's personal style. Fist techniques, finger techniques, palm techniques, light body arts, joint techniques. The students along the way saw the 3 of them and were somewhat surprised. Fundamental Tang. You dare say I'm stupid? You're dead. Amauri shouted. When Tang Tian woke up, it was already 3 days later. He slept for an entire 3 days and Tang Tian was filled with shock at his own ability to sleep. When Tang Tian crawled out from behind the cross door like a dead dog, he had already accumulated a total of 80,000 flash fists. It has to be said that the crane-style chi manual's endurance was very strong, and Tang Tian was able to spend more time on training and not meditating. And Tang Tian's valiant ability to adapt was fully displayed. Even though it was only the 2nd time, Tang Tian had already begun to adapt. I have to train all of them. This is not normal, we have to be careful, don't get betrayed by the old fart. Tang Tian lowered his voice. Occasionally they would cast strange glances, and the 3 of them dressed in old and tattered clothes were extremely eye-catching. So strange. Oh, training was originally a painstaking effort. Housefly cow. The depth of understanding contained in the spirit card was directly linked to the level of the creator. To expect a person with average strength to be able to create an excellent spirit card was simply a pipe dream. Tang Tian anxiously crawled up, wasting 3 days of time, and this made him feel a little heartache. Old Fart Wei, who was in front, was somewhat embarrassed and did not seem to make any moves, but Tang Tian and Amauri's heads were knocked at the same time. "Please follow me, the principal has been waiting for you for a long time." The middle-aged man was extremely courteous as he led the way. Old Fart Wei's face flushed red and lightly coughed. "Wait for me." Training efficiency had increased and he had the hardship plate, so he was not afraid of training even more martial techniques. To be able to increase true power while sleeping, what kind of strange true power was this? Chapter 18. Strengthening the crane body. Fist aura. It was actually a fist aura. The meridians in the human body, the 12 meridians, were the main ones and were also the most used meridians. They were wide and were suitable for the flow of true power. Other than that, there were the 8 extraordinary meridians which were independent of each other and formed their own system. Many martial techniques were developed from them. Other than the 12 meridians and the 8 extraordinary meridians, there were also many small net-like meridians. These meridians were worthless in the eyes of most martial artists. Old Fart Wei said coldly, "You doubt my foresight?" This thread of true power was as thin as a cow's hair, and Tang Tian did not sense it at all. These small threads of true power followed Tang Tian's continuous punches and gradually flowed into every corner of his body. "Yes." Old Fart Wei laughed, "but don't look down on him." The 200,000th punch. As expected, the fist once again appeared a faint white fist aura. "Ah, what an interesting kid," Old Fart Wei said. The principal smiled. "Seems like he is also a proud and arrogant kid." After a while, Tang Tian gradually calmed down from his ecstasy. How could the flash fist technique produce a fist aura? To comprehend a killing technique. Suddenly thinking about the throbbing of the 3rd-tier Dantian pool and the crane cries, Tang Tian's heart jumped. It was true power. He immediately sat down and checked the true power in his body. The 3rd-tier Dantian pool was filled with true power and he could not see any clues. Tang Tian was full of energy. The net of true power on his body formed a crane shape, and Tang Tian's fist was the beak of the crane. Tang Tian's fist suddenly disappeared in the air. Ecstasy filled Tang Tian's heart. Although it was only a faint layer of fist aura, the power was fundamentally different. The flash fist technique was a rank 2 fist technique, but it emphasized on the technique of using the muscles. On this point it was similar to the fundamental fist techniques, and was unable to form a fist aura. When Tang Tian and Amauri saw Old Fart Wei's gloomy face, both of them tactfully kept quiet. Crane-style chi manual. Tang Tian was stunned. He stared blankly at his own fist. Fist aura. Without saying a word, Tang Tian continued to immerse himself in training. Tang Tian exclaimed in his heart, "No wonder the crane sect was so powerful in the past, to have such a powerful mental cultivation technique." Tang Tian didn't know if it was because he was about to reach his goal, but he didn't feel tired at all. Instead, he was unprecedentedly excited and the speed of his punches kept increasing. In the principal's office, the principal poured a cup of tea and passed it to Old Fart Wei. Full of emotions, he said, "You finally found a suitable successor. For so many years you refused to see me. But I know that you won't give up so easily." Old Fart Wei sneered, "You're still the same as before without a bit of humanity." However, when Tang Tian tried to use a flash fist, something amazing happened. A stream of true power flowed out from the 3rd-tier Dantian pool, following the path of his usual mental cultivation, and flowed into his fist. When his fist appeared again, a faint fist radiance enveloped his fist. The principal was a little surprised. "It's not easy for you to praise him like this. I had some expectations for him. To be able to walk the path of a close-quarters combat expert, he is not an ordinary person." Sometimes, when one deduced from the results, many crucial points would become very obvious. The silver grade card's duration was 1 month. Tang Tian had some enlightenment in his heart and immediately triggered a chain reaction. A large amount of enlightenment flowed into his mind and it became clearer. But the true fist radiance could not be penetrated by swords and blades, and could destroy rocks and metals. They passed through many remote and small meridians which most people would never use in their entire lives. One by one they were activated by the true power and glowed with life. Tang Tian lowered his head and punched out. His fists flickered in the air, extremely fast and unpredictable. Finished, he turned and pushed the door open. Tang Tian was completely oblivious to everything else. The trajectory of every fist became clearer and clearer in his eyes. He could even see the minute air currents when the fists disappeared in the air. The principal raised his hand and interrupted old Fartway's words. I did not belittle him, but I do not think that a 17-year-old who had just mastered the fundamental martial techniques has any value in grooming him. You should change to someone else. This rank 3 silver grade, Crane-style Chi Manual Spirit card, was used by the Crane sect to build the foundation for the younger disciples. The Crane body was the foundation of the Crane sect's martial techniques, and was the true legacy of the Crane sect. Although they were small, the quantity was small. Ever since Tang Tian started to practice the Crane-style Chi Manual, he had thrown out about 150,000 punches, which was 150,000 small strands of true power. They converged into a wave and continuously surged forward slowly. One punch after another. So what if 200,000 punches were? There were still 400,000 punches waiting for him. What made him even more surprised was, once the Crane body was mastered, it could not only be used for fist techniques, it could be used for any type of martial technique. A clear cry of a crane suddenly sounded in his heart. Hoo, sweat continuously dripped down, but it did not affect his focused gaze. His ambition is real, but he is still arrogant, and his character is still simple. But the other guy is very arrogant. If not for the fact that he is not suitable to specialize in blade techniques, I would not bear to let him walk the path of a close-quarters combat expert. Old Fartway had a face of regret. Only rank 3 fist techniques would have the fist radiance, and it actually appeared in his own hands. Hey, actually it's nothing much. Old Fartway was not the least bit embarrassed. A Maori learning the Wild Earth blade is not a problem, but he lacks a place to fight, so he wanted to borrow your Crystal Skies Trial Starry Door to use. As for Tang Tian, he is not young anymore, he is already 17 years old and has just finished practicing the fundamental martial techniques. If this drags on, it will be delayed. Crane form. Tang Tian continued to throw out punches. He was not far from 200,000 punches of flash fists. After 200,000 punches of flash fists, he would be able to execute the perfect flash fists. In fact, for every 10 punches he would be able to execute 9 flash fists. Tang Tian continued to throw out flash fists, but his mind was immersed in his body, carefully observing the changes of true power. Fist Radiance. I have mastered Fist Radiance. I have actually mastered Fist Radiance. The true power in his body was abnormally lively, with the Dantian pool as the source and the meridians as the channels. It was like a big net, covering Tang Tian's entire body. The moment Tang Tian threw out his fists, the true power net in his body quickly changed. Many small strands of true power, like a stream returning to the origin, converged on his fists and formed Fist Radiance. Interesting. Tang Tian threw out flash fists again and again, and observed the changes of the true power net over and over again, because he felt that the changes of the true power net seemed to be somewhat familiar. His personal style of flash fists became more and more obvious, fast and floating. Now with every punch, all the true power in his body would converge layer by layer, transforming into a torrent. A Maori is not a problem, but I think that Tang Tian has no value to groom. The principal was not moved. I remember Tang Tian is that ultimate retainer. You actually brought such a student here? His fists seemed to have an invisible thread pulling on the true power in the 3rd-tier Dantian pool. Every time he threw out a fist, the true power in the 3rd-tier Dantian pool would have a strand of true power enter Tang Tian's meridians. Tang Tian also used the hardship training habit in his daily life. When he was exhausted, he would use the Crane-style Chi Manual to recover his body. The Crane-style Chi Manual improved abnormally fast. Tang Tian could complete 4,000 flash fists a day, and the Crane-style Chi Manual was of great help. It was indeed powerful. Old Fartway also restrained his smile and frowned. You don't agree? The true power in the 3rd-tier Dantian pool was like a pond full of water, becoming more and more agitated. Tang Tian's entire body shook. The true power in the third-tier Dantian pool rumbled, as if something was breaking out of a cocoon. Back at Caramel Academy, the two of them were secretly whispering. But Tang Tian did not know that his fists would cause a change in true power. The third round of hardship training. The so-called aura could only be formed when true power was released, and this was a special characteristic of rank 3 martial techniques. A Maori's earth-splitting chop was able to activate the blade aura. In the past, Tang Tian could also infuse true power into his palms, but he was unable to form a fist aura. The principal laughed. "Speak, you came to find me. It must be because you have something to ask of me. What can I help you with?" 17 years old. The principal restrained his smile and stared at old Fart Wei. "You just finished training the fundamental martial techniques not long ago?" Tang Tian suddenly realized these seemingly useless tiny meridians once activated. The moment the true power was released, the power would be even more astonishing. Old Fart Wei poured the tea into his mouth and smacked his lips twice before saying, "Ah, you know me well. I have observed a Maori for a few years. This child's temperament is not bad. He is very much like me when I was young." "What? You are too soft-hearted, always moved by strange emotions." The principal was unusually calm. "You always believe that there are miracles in this world. A person without talent is destined to be mediocre. Furthermore, he does not even have time. I am very happy that you came to find me, but you brought a person with no future. I am unable to accept it. This is a waste of time, a waste of our friendship." They were too small and too weak and could only withstand a pitiful amount of true power. The airflow in the air was like a ripple, and then it was smashed by the fist. He tried to punch again. Tang Tian muddle-headedly mastered the crane body. "Wait a minute." Tang Tian slapped his head and suddenly realized. The wind of the fist also started to change and became rapid. Tang Tian did not know that he had accidentally mastered the crane-style Qi manual. What the crane sect trained now was also the reduced version of the crane-style Qi manual. The crane-style Qi manual was gradually lost, and it was related to its own concept. The complicated circulation route. If no one pointed out the characteristics of the crane, then the difficulty of training it would be extremely high. And after that, it required Tang Tian to continuously train in martial techniques, and to activate the small and remote meridians in the body, which was the so-called crane body. Old Fart Wei was too lazy to argue and said indifferently, "Then we will meet at the Star Wind martial meet." Tang Tian quickly threw the matter to the back of his head and trained in the flash fist every day. Although the usual efficiency was not as exaggerated as training behind the cross door, but he was still able to complete about 4,000 flash fists every day. The flash fist was a rank 2 martial technique, and logically, it should not be possible to use the fist aura. When Tang Tian punched out, the true power gathered at the crane's beak and congealed into the fist aura. And when he retracted his fist, the crane body became loose and blurry again. This meant that Tang Tian's flash fist was starting to have the qualifications to compete with rank 3 martial techniques. Unknowingly, Tang Tian's flash fist had already completed 160,000 repetitions. So Crystal Sky became Star Wind Academy's #1 school, and your Caramel Academy is third from the bottom. The principal did not back down. Chapter 19. But the light aura on his fist was clearly visible, although the white light aura was weak, but it was definitely the light aura of a fist. Fundamental Tang, a Maori, did not instigate true power, but the power of the blade was as heavy as Mount Tai, causing people to feel that it was unavoidable. A Maori was born with godly strength. The gigantic wooden blade was made from the hardwood of the mountain. It was like a door plank, weighing over 200 kilograms. The moment the fist was released, the fist disappeared. The gigantic wooden blade drew a jet-black blade shadow. With a heavy whimpering sound of the wind, it slashed towards Tang Tian. And what Tang Tian needed to do was to train again and again, cycle after cycle of bitter training. A faint white light aura wrapped around Tang Tian's fist. Tang Tian felt that his luck was extremely good. A few days ago, the principal suddenly gave a death order. If the school was unable to obtain a good result in the Star Wind martial meet, 2 consecutive years of holidays would be cancelled. This order was given to all the students and teachers. Flash fist is a rank 2 martial technique. A Maori's gaze suddenly congealed. All his state of mind was shattered. He stared blankly at Tang Tian's fist. Tang Tian, who was in mid-air, bellowed, twisted his waist and threw out a punch. Before he finished speaking, he had already fled without a trace. It's the three rascals from that day. A close friend who was familiar with the situation said softly, "Do you still remember the 3 country bumpkins from that day? When I saw the 3 of them in our school, I felt that something was wrong. I did not expect that they would actually cause such a big problem." Amaury did not understand. Fundamental Tang's physique was also outstanding, but he was definitely unable to receive that chop. Even he himself was unable to receive that chop with his bare hands. "Wait a minute. You are talking about the 3 country bumpkins?" Fuda was startled. He had seen the 3 of them that day, but he did not link the 2 together. Unknowingly, Tang Tian had a misconception that Amaury was even more focused and hardworking than before. In fact, Amaury had been very hardworking in the past, but now looking at Amaury's back, Tang Tian couldn't help but have this thought. That's true. Fuda's mouth gaped open in shock. Tang Tian laughed heartily and swaggered away. Fist aura. Fuda immediately felt a wave of anger rise. This bunch of trash students, it's fine if they don't have a clear mind, but they even came to harm us. No, I can't just let this go. Hearing Amaury's passionate challenge, Tang Tian suddenly retracted his fist, revealed a harmless smile and waved his hand. "Aha, housefly cow, I'm just saying hello. Now that the greetings are over, oh, I still have something to do. You can play by yourself." Cultivating to a profound level with a thought, the crane's body would transform, all the true power in his body would surge, and in an instant it would explode, turning the softness into the toughness, destroying everything in its path. Fuda nodded repeatedly. Yes. Mad Bull Amaury is transferring schools. But what did they have to do with the headmaster? How did you offend the headmaster? Dang. Tang Tian's fist suddenly drilled out from the air. The crane-style chi manual was a perfect match with the Southern Cross hardship tablet. Not only could it train in martial techniques, it could also increase the true power by leaps and bounds. In this world, there are just so many people who overestimate themselves. His best friend shrugged his shoulders and said with a face full of misfortune, "Their brains are fried, we are just lying down and getting stabbed." Fuda sneered. "They want to compete with us, Crystal Sky, in the Star Wind martial meet? This bunch of toads don't even look at themselves in the mirror. Just based on them, do they have the qualifications? What a joke. I want to let them know that reality is not as funny as they think it is. That's right, find a few people. Damn it, I must vent this anger." At this moment, Amaury had no more doubts in his heart. The light aura from Tang Tian's fist was the fist aura. Tang Tian laughed out loud, jumped up from the floor and rushed out of the room. He could not wait to find Amaury to test his skills. "I'm not sure about the exact situation, but I heard that the headmaster and the old man quarreled in the headmaster's office, and then this happened." His best friend continued to expose. After the shock, Amaury's heart surged with a strong will to fight. "Fundamental Tang, I will not lose to you." His body that was like a mountain suddenly turned, firmly rooted to the ground, and the huge wooden blade in his hand was slightly raised. Such a heavy chop, the power was terrifying. According to the understanding of the spirit card, the crane body was just the beginning of the crane-style chi manual, and was far from the end. Tang Tian's crane body could only be considered as an embryonic form, and he needed to continuously activate more small meridians so that the crane body could be strengthened. After strengthening the crane body, the shape of the crane would become more vivid, and its power would be even stronger. Fuda was in trouble today. Was Fundamental Tang's brain damaged? Xin Yuan, a third-year student, ranked 9th in Crystal Sky Academy. Amaury awoke from his stupor and regained his senses. "It's true," his best friend said with a bitter face. Crystal Sky Academy was immediately in chaos. Amaury's spirit was roused. The last time Tang Tian used the flash fist technique to suppress him, he had always been brooding over it. Although the last time Tang Tian was in a berserk state and his power increased exponentially, but Amaury felt that it was not an excuse for him to be suppressed. The headmaster's prestige in Crystal Sky Academy was unparalleled, and no one would doubt the headmaster's orders. As long as one stayed in Crystal Sky Academy, they would know that the headmaster's words were never empty. But out of Amaury's expectations, Tang Tian, who was in mid-air, did not have any intention of dodging. The gloomy sound of the wind disappeared, and the blade that was as heavy as a mountain became more agile. Regardless of which angle Tang Tian's flash fist technique came from, it would collide with the chop. This bull's power was too abnormal. Flash fist. What do you want to do? His best friend suddenly became spirited. The sound of metal colliding, a Maori felt a strong force coming from his hands, his palms became hot, and he almost could not hold the huge wooden blade. Fundamental Tang. You asshole. Fundamental Tang, you actually managed to cultivate a fist aura. Haha, I can finally let go and fight with you. Come, Fundamental Tang, try my earth-splitting chop. That old man is the headmaster of Caramel Academy. The other two, one is a Maori, the other is Tang Tian. You should know them. Recently there has been a huge commotion. Why is the headmaster so crazy? Making everyone unable to live. Fuda could not help but complain. Tang Tian, who was in mid-air, suddenly punched out. All the classes, no one was spared. The number of students who were punished every day could fill the entire corridor. Tang Tian was filled with anticipation for the future. He did not know what it would be like to train the crane body to its peak. A Maori laughed out loud. The huge wooden blade faced Tang Tian, who was in mid-air, and suddenly chopped. But at this time, the huge wooden blade and the fist that was enveloped by the white fist aura clashed together. It was a real fist aura. A Maori could clearly feel his own improvement. This chop was as light as a feather, calm and unhurried. The strength exerted was obviously a qualitative leap compared to the past. He was not boasting. What kind of school was Crystal Sky? Star Wind City's #1 school. Caramel Academy was third from the bottom. The two could not be compared at all. If not for the matter of the transfer, Fuda would not have even heard of the name of this school. A Maori's blade, the force was heavy. Although Tang Tian's fist was enveloped by the fist aura, he still retreated a few steps, his arm feeling sore. Tang Tian shook his head, throwing the nonsensical thoughts to the back of his head. With a thought, true power poured into his legs. His entire body was like a cannonball, rushing towards a Maori who was training. Fist aura. That's not possible. Fu Da's face was full of disbelief, as if he had heard a funny joke. Caramel Academy is such a broken school, what's there to argue about? Don't tell me he wants to compete with us in the Star Wind Martial meet? His brain must be fried. What could be simpler than this? A Maori was sweating profusely in the training grounds, his hands holding onto a huge wooden blade that was almost the same size as him, shouting continuously, but old Fartway was still nowhere to be seen. It should be an illusion. Yang Yong, second-year student, Crystal Sky Academy, rank 22. After a while, an angry roar suddenly exploded out from the forest. A Maori's mind was clear. The power of his blade became even more perfect. The jet-black shadow of the blade, as if it was one with his iron body. Impossible. The first thought that popped up in a Maori's mind was this word. How could the flash fist produce fist aura? How is that possible? A Maori was dumbstruck, looking at Tang Tian's back disappearing in front of his eyes. His fighting spirit was like a punch on cotton. He almost spat out blood. A Maori had long sensed Tang Tian's approach. The huge wooden blade in his hands suddenly flipped, his huge body spinning. It was indescribably agile. Very quickly, Fu Da's suggestion quickly gained the support of many students. At the thought of their hellish days, everyone was enraged. Hey, we don't need to go to Star Wind Martial meet. We can find a few people and teach them a lesson. Don't they want to participate in Star Wind Martial meet? Then we will beat them until they cannot participate. Fu Da's eyes became colder, his face full of ridicule. They think that just one mad bull, a Maori, they can overturn the heavens? Beast Academy does not even dare to challenge our Crystal Sky Academy. Just one, a Maori, and they dare to be so arrogant? Cripple them. All the teachers were like clockwork, squatting down day and night, increasing the number of classes, all kinds of special training, day and night battle drills. Fundamental Tang. Let me see how much you have improved recently. Housefly cow. Take this. Not sure if it was because of the crane body, Tang Tian did not feel tired at all after this round of bitter training. Tang Tian's flash fist technique had been trained to perfection. He could use any method to execute the flash fist technique as he wished. After meditating for an hour, his fatigue was swept away. After cultivating the crane body, the recovery speed of his true power had increased by quite a bit. Let me see how much your flash fist technique has improved. All the students of Crystal Sky Academy immediately felt bitter. Not to mention skipping classes, even being late under the current high-pressure situation, would result in severe punishment. In the past they only needed to spend some money to bribe the teachers, and their days were free and unfettered. But now this method was completely useless. The teachers were like wolves with red eyes, merciless. The two of them disappeared. But in order to not attract the attention of the teachers and be punished, they finally picked the two strongest students, and the rest helped to cover for them. Don't tell me you want to. His best friend's eyes lit up. Fuda did not expect that there would be so many people responding. Chapter 20. Xin Yuan and Yang Yong were overjoyed. The two of them looked at each other with excitement. Xin Yuan and Yang Yong were both proud and arrogant people. To lose so much face, it was worse than killing them. He had been restraining himself because he knew that he was too weak. Zhou Peng had learned his lesson, and the number of bodyguards by his side had increased by a few times. Xin Iron Palm was Xin Yuan's nickname. Xin Yuan was most famous for his pair of iron palms. Xin Yuan mainly trained in metal attribute palm techniques. His palms were tempered to be as hard as steel, and were difficult to be injured by blades. People who were familiar with him would often call him Xin Iron Palm. Yang Yong, who was struck dumb by the first heavy punch, did not even have the strength to retaliate. He was like a sandbag, he could only endure and was unable to retaliate. Tang Tian decided before going to Heaven's Road he would settle this matter. Walking out of Andrew City, Tang Tian's mood returned to normal. Star Wind City was only so big, there would always be a time when they would bump into each other. Furthermore, as long as he became strong enough, not to mention Zhou Peng, even the Zhou family would not be a problem. Fundamental Tang Tian's physique was already terrifying, and his techniques were impeccable. No one knew better than a Maori how heavy Tang Tian's fists were. The two of them did not hold back, their speed was extremely fast and they quickly left Star Wind City. Following the dirt road outside the city, they continued forward. Yang Yong's light body technique left a deep impression on Tang Tian. Although Tang Tian was overflowing with confidence, he was not stupid. His current flash fist technique was not bad, but his other martial techniques, especially light body technique, were still at the basic level. A Maori glanced over, his eyes filled with sympathy. The two of them had never heard of this school before and asked a few people along the way, but no one knew who it was. The young man shook his head. It's outside the city, it's very far, I can't say for sure. But Tang Tian had also proven the power of his flash fist technique, and he was filled with confidence towards the future. Becoming stronger himself was the most important thing. Tyrant Tang was like a fierce beast entering the village, causing the martial arts grounds to be in chaos, wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves, causing many students to escape in panic. Tang Tian stood up and left without hesitation. He happened to see a young man who looked like a student in front of him. He hurriedly went forward and asked, "Student, do you know Caramel Academy?" The boy's face was a little pale from fear and he looked terrified. "You're from Heaven Crystal?" That would definitely be the biggest joke of the year for Crystal Sky Academy. Tang Tian frowned as he listened to Zhou Peng's stuttering story. Zhou Peng hadn't been to Andy Academy ever since he had transferred. He quickly retracted his gaze and looked at Xin Yuan. Only fist arts of rank 6 and above possessed the ability to attack from afar. Only a ghost would know about that broken place. If it wasn't for the commotion this time, I wouldn't have even heard of the name Caramel Academy. After thinking for a long time, Tang Tian still couldn't figure it out. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Zhou Peng was lucky this time. On the other hand, the student he was carrying fainted from the shock. "Xin Iron Palm?" a Maori said in a low voice. He recognized Xin Yuan, and his eyes immediately lit up with fighting spirit. But no one in Caramel Academy knew about it. Tang Tian was stunned when he heard that. "Looking for trouble with us? Do you know where Caramel Academy is?" But before that there was still something he had to do. Housefly cow. Xin Yuan and Yang Yong rushed out of the school gate aggressively. They were determined to cripple Tang Tian and a Maori, who knew that when they came out they would find themselves in a daze. As a result, Tang Tian had to spend a lot of effort to catch one student. "Zhou Peng, come, let's have a good fight. Let me witness the legendary Xin Iron Palm that can destroy anything." A Maori didn't care why Xin Yuan and the rest came over. As long as there was a fight to fight, his passion would explode. Yang Yong relied on his light body technique to gain the upper hand. Old Fart Wei once said something that Tang Tian remembered clearly. Without a good light body technique, he would not be able to close the distance between him and his opponent. He had no chance of winning. The other party stopped in his tracks. He frowned and thought about it. Oh, you are talking about the Caramel Academy that Mad Bull Maori transferred to? I seem to have some impression of it. Yang Yong's face darkened. He said in disdain, "Brat, don't be so shameless. Let me tell you, today you have to go even if you don't want to. This young master is from Crystal Sky. Do you want to try?" Once he made up his mind, Tang Tian did not think too much. He hummed a tune and prepared to return to school. Just at this time he suddenly heard a discussion behind him. Yang Yong and Xin Yuan looked at each other. They were overjoyed. They finally found the right place. The young man trembled as he stretched out his finger. That side. Yang Yong's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Caramel Academy is a broken school that no one even knows of. They actually dare to challenge us, Crystal Sky. That principal of theirs is a lunatic. If it was in front of us, I would have chopped him up. Tang Tian, who had just tied up Yang Yong, did not have the slightest interest in the upcoming fight. He looked at Yang Yong, who was tied up on the ground. His two hands started to search Yang Yong's body. He had suffered so many punches. Even he did not dare imagine it. What a pitiful fellow. Just at this time, Xin Yuan's face suddenly froze. It was as if he had seen something terrifying. He was overwhelmed with shock. Damn it. Then how do we find trouble with them? If a man could not even take revenge, then what was the point of living? Where was Caramel Academy? Bang. The sound of hurried footsteps accompanied by the scolding of many teachers could be heard from afar. Yang Yong, who had suffered countless punches, finally could not take it anymore and fainted. "Ha, you flatter me." Tang Tian did not even raise his head. It was unknown where he found a rope. Baring his teeth, he used all his strength to tie Yang Yong up. The two of them stood on the street in a daze. In that moment they did not know what to do. If they were to return with their tails between their legs, it would be too embarrassing. They would definitely be laughed at by everyone. Everyone had risked being punished to cover for the two of them. In the end, because they could not find the other party's school, they could only return to school. The young man shook his head like a rattle drum. "No, I still have to go to class. I don't have time." Although he had only clashed with a Maori once, Tang Tian was extremely confident in his flash fist. Although a Maori did not use any true power, but that slash could be said to be the pinnacle of his work. Xin Yuan immediately said, "I wonder if this student can point us in a direction?" Voila! A bull-like man carrying a gigantic wooden sword that was about the same size as him rushed out from the dense forest. When a Maori saw the scene in front of him, he was stunned. Zhou Ping did not come to Andrew Academy? Tyrant Tang had only transferred schools for a short period of time. When he appeared again, it caused a commotion and panic. After rushing for about an hour, Yang Yong suspected that the young man was lying to them. Just at that moment, a small wooden sign appeared in front of the two of them. On it were the words, "Caramel Academy." Tang Tian waved his fists, which landed on Yang Yong's body like a torrential storm. He did not even raise his head and said to a Maori, "We can only ask someone." Xin Yuan also did not have any good ideas. "We still cannot touch that old man. I heard that the principal even specially came out to welcome him. I reckon that the two of them are friends. Let's just teach a Maori and Tang Tian a lesson. Caramel Academy only has these two students. It would be best if they do not participate in the martial meet." Xin Yuan was mature and steady. He arrived at Andrew Academy with ease. It was currently class time and there were not many people outside the school. Tang Tian looked around, then flipped over and entered the room. Tang Tian's face was gloomy. Teacher Tsun was implicated and was fired. Tang Tian was determined in his heart to take revenge. He was not a person who repaid evil with good. But now he was confident in his own strength. The time for revenge had arrived. "Then can you bring us along?" Xin Yuan squeezed out a warm smile. Xin Yuan was ranked 9th in Crystal Sky Academy, while a Maori was ranked 7th in Beast Academy. But Crystal Sky Academy was ranked 1st, while Beast Academy was ranked 3rd. Hence, Xin Yuan's ranking was higher than a Maori's. Xin Yuan was initially stunned by Tang Tian's sudden attack, but now his face did not show any signs of change. He shook his head and sighed. I never thought that I would fail miserably today. Tang Tian, good acting. Yang Yong fiercely said. Which direction? Invincible? That's an exaggeration. But to take care of you it's enough. Xin Yuan's expression was stern, his palms turning as black as steel. There was nothing more exciting than spoils of war. Not being able to participate in the tournament is easy. It will take 100 days to recover, but we have to find them first. And we have to be quick. It won't be so easy next time. Yang Yong said helplessly. Xin Yuan looked up at Yang Yong and said, we don't have much time. No matter how stupid Tang Tian was, he knew that Zhou Ping did not come to school because he was afraid of him. There must be some other reason. Yang Yong's light body technique was outstanding. Although he was carrying a person, his steps were light and agile. Compared to him, Xin Yuan's light body technique was slightly inferior. But it could be seen that Xin Yuan's true power was vigorous. Although his steps were not exquisite, but with one step he was able to cover a distance of more than 10 meters. His chi was even more stable. This punch was extremely powerful. Yang Yong felt a sharp pain in his chin. His entire head buzzed and went blank. Yang Yong did not understand the situation. His chin was hit hard. The two of them turned and flew towards the direction pointed by the young man. Careful. A loud, guttural shout broke the silence of the forest. With his strength at that time, it was like using an egg to smash a rock. Tang Tian's hands were still numb. His strength was vigorous and it was evident. Tang Tian did not use true power, but the speed of his flash fist technique was very fast. And Tang Tian's flash fist technique was trained to a perfect state. His attack frequency was astonishing. His fists rained down like rain. Ah, Fundamental Tang, you're finally back. Housefly Cow, I found you a good opponent. Oh, Crystal Sky Academy an expert. Oh right, they are here to find trouble with us. The great mission of protecting the Caramel Academy will be handed over to you. Hearing that, without saying a word, Yang Yong extended his arms and grabbed the young man's collar. Activating his light body technique, his speed increased. Xin Yuan also moved at the same time and followed closely. Chapter 21. Raising the gigantic wooden blade with both hands like a heavy axe, he slashed downwards. Iron palm killing technique. Crushing iron door. Maori. Xin Yuan was indeed known as the iron palm. His palm techniques looked ordinary, but every palm was vigorous and strong. Maori was born with godly strength. The gigantic wooden blade in his hands was abnormally heavy. Using true power to activate it in terms of power and weight, Tang Tian admitted that he was inferior. However, the saber aura, which was like the weight of Mount Tai, was always firmly blocked by this pair of black iron palms. Tang Tian saw that a Maori's blade was in disorder, and immediately became anxious. If a Maori lost, the spoils of war that he had just obtained would fly away, and Xin Yuan would definitely not let them go. Clenching his teeth, Tang Tian's legs suddenly exerted strength and he rushed out like a cheetah. Tang Tian, who had just cultivated the crane body, had a huge blow to his pride. Old Fart Wei's words suddenly appeared in a Maori's mind. A Maori was stunned. Tang Tian was stunned. The Xin Yuan in front of him actually gave him a feeling that he could not block him. A Maori's blade started to become messy. Xin Yuan's iron palm was simple and unadorned, but its power was astonishing. Every time a palm was released, it would envelop an area of a few meters. Tang Tian's cheek was unknowingly cut, and a stream of fresh blood slowly seeped down. Tang Tian did not feel anything. His eyes suddenly squinted and an undetectable killing intent flashed past. A Maori struggled to hold on. Xin Yuan's iron palm seemed to be everywhere, and no matter how he changed his blade it was useless. The usually ferocious earth-splitting chop did not have the usual awe-inspiring aura. The true power in a Maori's body surged, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to emit an endless amount of power. Bending his waist, he held the blade with both hands and the blade was raised. Xin Yuan's eyes turned cold and he released another palm. When he saw Fundamental Tang jumping into the fray, a Maori bit his lips tightly. Today I will let you understand how laughable your thoughts are. He looked at Xin Yuan's gaze and immediately became passionate. But very quickly Tang Tian calmed down. Xin Yuan's display of power was extremely shocking. Earth-splitting chop-killing technique. Fine abyss chop. The wind wall broke and countless air currents as sharp as broken glass flew in all directions. Chi. Tang Tian's clothes were sliced open, and fresh blood flowed out from the small wounds. The true power in Xin Yuan's entire body surged. His footsteps looked slow, but they were extremely heavy, every step leaving a clear footprint on the ground. Just like that he approached Emily step by step. His palms glowed with a deep black light and the wind from his palms was low and deep. Tang Tian did not seem to notice because Xin Yuan sent another palm over. From the corner of Xin Yuan's eyes, he saw Tang Tian rushing over and his heart shivered. But when Tang Tian used the flash fist, a disdainful smile surfaced on his face. You of Tang, you of you. In reality, Crystal Sky Academy's students were extremely wealthy. Tang Tian was like a small fly, dropped into a swamp and could not even flap his wings. His flash fist had not even gotten close to Xin Yuan, when his body was struck by the strong wind from the pair of unremarkable iron palms. You're a coward. With fundamental Tang's strength, entering the battlefield was no different from seeking death. Killing technique against killing technique. Bang bang bang. Bang. This was the theoretical highest, but no one had ever achieved it. Until now, Star Wind City's highest record was Wang Zhen's 83%. Tang Tian's heart was filled with gratitude. Such a good person. Amaury did not know why the anger in his chest was extinguished, but the image of a young lad raising his arms and shouting appeared in his mind. Tang Tian did not notice Amaury's change, but he was the first to notice Xin Yuan's distraction. His flash fist became faster and the wind wall broke again. A few streams of blood spurted out. Tang Tian's eyes widened and like an agile beast he quietly took a step forward. Amaury's true power was not weak either. Third-level true power at his age it was not easy. Tang Tian's true power was even weaker. He had just stepped into the third level. Although he had cultivated the crane body and the explosive power of his true power allowed him to have the strength of a third-level true power, but in other aspects he was still lacking compared to a third-level true power. A wall of wind visible to the naked eye, like an iron gate, rumbled as it smashed forward. Chance. So powerful. If he did not have to take care of Amaury, Tang Tian would not even have a chance to struggle. But even if he had to take care of Amaury, he did not think that Tang Tian would be a threat. Continuous flash fists consumed a lot of energy. Bastard. Personally entering the circle of battle, Tang Tian experienced Xin Yuan's iron palm completely differently. Xin Yuan's seemingly ordinary palm pushed out horizontally, and the whistling wind from the palm was like a solid wall of wind smashing forward. The 100% flash fists in front of the iron palm were as weak as paper. Xin Yuan was usually low-key. In Crystal Sky, where geniuses were everywhere, he did not reveal himself. His strength had always been underestimated, but he did not mind. This time, if not for someone begging him, he would not have stood up. It was Tang Tian's first time seeing Amaury being suppressed by someone. The young lad's shout seemed to resonate in his mind. Xin Yuan did not look as old as him, but his true power had already been cultivated to such a terrifying level. Fundamental Tang. Amaury looked at Tang Tian's sweaty back. His body was covered in blood, but he stubbornly moved forward, step by step. Ever since Tang Tian jumped into the circle of battle, he actually did not retreat half a step. He struggled to move forward and actually overtook him. In the blink of an eye, the two were in imminent danger. Where's your dream? Where's the oath you swore? There's no way to dodge. Flash fists. Wa Wu, young lad, go go go. Let's see how long you can last. Tang Tian's flash fists landed on the wind wall like raindrops, and produced a concentrated explosion. The air in front of him was filled with transparent ripples. You don't even have the courage to struggle. Maury, you coward. Xin Yuan's eyes flashed a look of surprise. Tang Tian's attainments in the flash fist surprised him. Up until now, Tang Tian had not failed a single punch. That also meant that Tang Tian's flash fists had a 100% success rate. Tang Tian did not retreat but advanced instead. He did not care about his stamina and the flash fists rained down. But every step he paid a huge price. Every time the wind wall broke, his body would have a few more wounds. In his eyes, a rank 2 martial skill was practically useless. Xinyuan did not seem to care about Immerse's blade power. Palm after palm, Immerse's blade power was unable to break through his palm power. The first to sense that something was wrong was Xinyuan. The aura that Immerse was emitting had a palpitating aura. However, this trace of surprise disappeared in Xinyuan's heart. Crystal Sky Academy did not lack geniuses. He had seen all kinds of geniuses. The Flash Fists was just a rank 2 martial technique. To the lower year students, it might be able to attract their interest. But to the higher year students, only rank 3 martial techniques were meaningful. Rank 4 martial techniques were high-end. It was as if there was a voice echoing in his heart. How can you be so useless? How can you be so cowardly? I have underestimated him previously. Xinyuan's eyes lit up. The true power in his body surged to the maximum. His hair stood on end. His palms became slower and heavier. It was as if the air had become sticky. You lack Tang Tian's ferocity. The moment his aura reached its peak, Immerse's solemn voice brought with it a power that could shake one's soul. This was... His fists disappeared in the air at an alarming rate and reappeared at an alarming rate. His beast-like body was like an ancient gladiator, brimming with an indescribable sense of beauty. His gaze subconsciously landed on fundamental Tang. 2 light body technique cards could be said to solve Tang Tian's urgent need. Tang Tian was currently lacking light body technique cards. He did not expect someone to deliver it to him. Tang Tian immediately felt that the unconscious Yang Yong on the ground was much more pleasing to the eye. Unknowingly, Immerse's gaze became calmer and more determined. His left hand at the same time reached out to the huge wooden blade hilt in his right hand. The third level Immerse was completely suppressed by Xinyuan. With his pitiful true power, he was afraid that he would be swept to the side by the palm wind. Such vigorous true power. It was the Flash Fist again. His expression was solemn and his gaze was firm. A wave of awe-inspiring might, like a gust of wind, spread out from Immerse's body. The Flash Fist collapsed on its own. Tang Tian saw the crux of the matter. Xinyuan's attainments in the iron palm were indeed astonishing. But what truly forced Immerse to such a state was Xinyuan's vigorous true power. Tang Tian did not feel anything. His eyes stared straight at Xinyuan. With all his might he slowly moved forward. The air walls along the way were like white paper being sliced by a sharp blade. Immerse did not know why, but his heart was filled with anger. That's right, anger. Anger at himself for being so weak. Anger at himself for being so weak. Anger at himself for being so weak. Anger at himself for having a trace of fear. With just this bit of ability he wants to challenge Crystal Sky? Iron Clay Finger was a gold attribute finger technique. Tang Tian could not train in it, but gold attribute finger techniques were popular. Tang Tian could use it to exchange for a spirit card that he could use. Among the experts of Crystal Sky, Xinyuan was not eye-catching. He was usually rather low profile. Immerse never thought that Xinyuan's power would be so strong. You are a man who is determined to create your own martial Dao. If Xinyuan did not train in a special mental cultivation technique, then he would be at the 4th level of true power. An unfathomably deep black crack followed along the ground like a snake. It shot towards Xinyuan like lightning. When he was watching from the sidelines, Tang Tian received a huge impact. But once he entered the ring of battle, Tang Tian threw all the distracting thoughts to the back of his mind. He widened his eyes, glaring angrily, and continuously waved his fists. He had 3 light attribute spirit cards and all of them were silver grade cards. Rank 2 light body technique, aerial wooden stake. Rank 3 light body technique, 8 steps overtaking cicada. And rank 3 finger technique, iron clay finger. Other than his back, the other parts of his body were filled with wounds. Sweat and fresh blood quickly soaked through his clothes. Xinyuan's face changed. In a moment of desperation he circulated his true power to the maximum. Squatting in a horse stance he placed his palms together and slowly pushed them out. It was as though he was pushing an extremely heavy metal door. All the muscles in his body swelled and his clothes were about to burst. How could this be? Anger flowed like lava and his entire body trembled slightly. Crystal Sky Academy was indeed a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. What a disgrace. The Tang Tian in front of him was actually able to unleash 100% Flash Fist. Flash Fist. Fundamental Tang. Chapter 22. Do you know what they are thinking? Xin Yuan said without batting an eyelid. He said if we can't appease their anger, they will strip us naked and hang us at the entrance of Crystal Sky Academy. Tang Tian beamed. Woo woo, I was wrong about you, you are a good lad. Bang. So powerful. Maori was in awe, there were not many people who could say so much. All kinds of martial techniques belonged to different systems. To be able to be so familiar with so many martial techniques, it showed that Xin Yuan was immersed in martial arts. Tang Tian's feet landed on the ground. Fundamental Tang, didn't he admit defeat? Maori's weak voice came from behind. But his face pretended to be indifferent. Close quarters combat expert, have you heard of him? Yang Yong did not know why, but his heart suddenly turned cold. We are all martial artists, so let's use the spirit cards. Tang Tian put on an act and coughed lightly. But you have to think it through. With your status and position, what kind of spirit card would not be a disgrace to your status? Oh, of course, the most important thing is the anger in my heart. Before he fainted, his last thought, didn't he admit defeat? How could he be so vicious? Xin Yuan quivered, flipped his palm and wanted to block Tang Tian's fist. Spirit cards are not a problem, even the martial techniques I helped him choose are the most reasonable. Xin Yuan sneered. Close quarters combat expert. Xin Yuan's eyes suddenly stared straight. He stared at Tang Tian's face, not saying a word. Tang Tian was stared at until he thought something was growing on his face. Xin Yuan groaned, he felt a pain in his shoulder, the true power in his body dissipated, and his entire body flew out like a sandbag. Xin Yuan's mouth was wide open, his face lifeless. Tang Tian, on the other hand, had a pained expression. That's even worse. Crystal Sky Academy students, when did they fall to the point where they can't even afford to pay for their spoils of war? This is an insult to the noble Crystal Sky. Until a hand reached out to his body and started to strip his clothes, Xin Yuan finally reacted and hurriedly said, wait a minute. I am willing to redeem myself. I will redeem myself. Bang. When Tang Tian saw Xin Yuan's expression, he gritted his teeth and secretly rejoiced in his heart. The fat sheep. But the kind-hearted Maori wanted to say something but hesitated. Xin Yuan was right. Even if they were to defeat Maori and Tang Tian again with their status, victory was a matter of course and defeat was a disgrace. Any defeat was a disgrace. The flash fist that was enveloped in fist aura disappeared in the air. Almost at the same time, it appeared in front of Xin Yuan's eyes. Tang Tian put on a fierce face and glared at him. Vicious. A man must be ruthless. No one noticed that in the chaotic airflow, a figure was moving against the flow. The more Yang Yong listened, the more confused he became. Fundamental Tang, he's really from Sky Crystal. I know him. A Maori advised from the side. Xin Yuan secretly cursed. Yang Yong's face turned snow white. When the scene that Xin Yuan had described appeared in his mind, his entire body trembled and he could not help but shout angrily, how could they be so vicious? Tang Tian took the 3 cards and left with a Maori in high spirits. These 3 spirit cards, please accept them. Xin Yuan solemnly presented the 3 cards. Yang Yong, who was at the side, had a face full of hatred. My heart is burning with anger. Young lad, how do you plan to pacify the anger in my heart? Tang Tian squatted down. With a black face he asked condescendingly. The true power clashed violently. Countless of tiny airflows suddenly swept out in all directions. Xin Yuan's eyes blurred. Without any warning, a figure appeared in front of him. His pupils constricted. Tang. A few tiny airflows cut a few wounds on Tang Tian's cheeks, but Tang Tian did not seem to feel it. Xin Yuan opened his mouth but did not know what to say. Tang Tian's movements were even faster. He flew out at the same time as Xin Yuan. In mid-air, his fists once again flew out like lightning. A Maori quietly shifted to the side. His face was full of sympathy. Xin Yuan, Crystal Sky's famous Iron Man, was tormented by fundamental Tang to such a pitiful state. So pitiful. Xin Yuan felt a sharp pain on his face. His mind went blank. It was as though he was nailed to the ground by a heavy hammer. His face turned cold. Xinyuan slowly woke up. What entered his eyes were two faces. A Maori's face was full of sympathy and pity. Tang Tian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He had an unkind look on his face. Xinyuan shook his head. You don't understand the occupation of a close-quarters combat expert. This occupation is an extremely complicated and difficult occupation. Without astonishing talent, it is impossible to walk down this path. These few martial techniques have completely different characteristics. In theory, it is a perfect match. If one can master it, there is no way out. Only the truly talented and strong martial artists can train in the close-quarters combat expert. The reason for that was because they only needed a very short period of time to be able to master each martial skill. With Tang Tian's talent and with 5 completely different martial techniques, he will only be more mediocre. A Maori was flabbergasted. He stammered, Fundamental Tang, this is too vicious. I admit defeat. Oh, these 2 light body technique cards are not a problem. The 5 elements are evenly distributed. Iron Clay Finger can be exchanged for Eagle Claw. The 2 cards are of equal value. The rank 3 Eagle Claw's power is not bad. As for palm techniques, I have Broken Shadow Palm. This palm technique is very particular about variations. It is very suitable for close-quarters combat. Your Flash Fist is not bad, but its power is slightly weaker. As for rank 3, you can train Minute Collapsing Fist. I have a rank 3 Consecutive Loop technique. So professional. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. Yang Yong did not speak anymore. He suddenly felt lucky. That's right. A few spirit cards were nothing. I have decided to strip the 2 of them and hang them at the entrance of Crystal Sky Academy to vent the anger in my heart. Tang Tian said gloomily. Yang Yong could not help but say, Old Shin, why did you really give them the cards? If we make a move now, we can definitely turn defeat into victory. This combination is very comprehensive. Aerial Wooden Stake emphasizes on footwork. 8 Steps Overtaking Cicada is known for its speed. Eagle Claw uses speed to fight slow. 10 Fingers like hooks. Broken Shadow Palm uses fake to confuse the enemy. The Minute Collapsing Fist's power was like a collapsing thunder, a hammer that determined the outcome. Consecutive Loop technique is extremely powerful in close-quarters combat. The entire body's knees and elbows are all weapons to destroy the enemy. Tang Tian flew into a rage. You still want to lie to me? Which Crystal Sky student would be as poor as you? You don't even have a single coin on you. Xinyuan patted Yang Yong's shoulder and comforted him. A few cards are nothing. Spend money to avoid disaster. Tang Tian saw that Xinyuan was even more agitated than him. His heart felt a little weak. He took out the 3 cards that he took from Yang Yong. Here are these 3 cards. But I plan to change Iron Clay Finger. My 5 elements are evenly distributed. I can't train it. Xinyuan said indifferently. And then? Can we just kill them? This kind of failure, as long as we fail even once, we will never be able to wash away the shame. Xinyuan's gaze met Tang Tian's calm eyes. His heart could not help but tremble. What a terrifying opponent. Bang. Don't tell me there's something wrong with these spirit cards? Yang Yong asked curiously. Luckily he and Fundamental Tang were on the same side. A Maori's Fine Abyss Chop and Xinyuan's Crushing Iron Door clashed. Xinyuan's reaction was extremely fast. Although his true power had not recovered, he still used his right palm to seal Tang Tian's position. Sounds like a close-quarters combat expert is very powerful. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. Seems like old Fort Wei did not lie to me. But no one will do that. For example, I specialize in the iron palm. If I were to train in fist arts, I would definitely train in the iron fist, which has some similarities with the iron palm. Like this, my training time can be greatly reduced. If I were to learn a fist art that is completely different from the iron palm, the training time would definitely increase. But what if I increase it to 5 martial techniques? That would require a lot more time. Xinyuan was really panicking. When he thought of himself being stripped naked and hung at the entrance of Crystal Sky Academy, he could not help but shiver. Xinyuan's house. Tang Tian's breathing finally stabilized. He stood up straight and revealed a bright smile. If I let him admit defeat, how can I plunder the spoils of war? Only those with spoils of war can be called the victor. Just as this thought surfaced in his mind, he saw Tang Tian's fist. What do you want? Xin Yuan pretended to be calm, but his trembling voice revealed the fear in his heart. I'm not pretending. Xin Yuan, who was still not fully awake, replied subconsciously. Unfortunately, Tang Tian did not give him any time to react. The second fist drilled in through the opening and fiercely struck Xin Yuan's shoulder. Xin Yuan was slightly agitated. If you are a close-quarters combat expert, the most basic framework is 5 martial techniques: light body arts, finger arts, palm arts, fist arts and joint techniques. What cards do you have? In that moment, a Maori's heart was filled with joy. Xin Yuan did not know whether to laugh or cry. So this rascal did not manage to find any spoils of war from his body. Xin Yuan usually trained hard and maintained a frugal and low-profile style. Naturally, he would not bring anything with him. You actually want to walk the path of a close-quarters combat expert. Xin Yuan's tone had a tinge of respect. I did not lose unjustly. Xin Yuan, who lost his balance, watched as Tang Tian's fist whistled through the air like a shooting star. Seeing that it was about to hit his face, he closed his eyes. Yang Yong was speechless. No buts, quickly help me find a rope. Tang Tian immediately said. Yang Yong did not understand. Then why is he in such a miserable state? The fist was enveloped in a layer of faint white aura. Xin Yuan was momentarily stunned. Fist aura. The two people who bore the brunt of the attack felt the blood in their bodies churning, and their bodies uncontrollably retreated. Who exactly are you? How dare you impersonate a Crystal Sky student? Tang Tian bellowed. Also, if he really trained in these spirit carts, he. Xin Yuan laughed sinisterly. Then he will be in deep trouble. Xin Yuan squinted his eyes and said indifferently. Luckily he only knew Flash Fist. How could Flash Fist use Fist Aura? Hoo-hoo, his panting sounded like bellows and his entire body was drenched. The fist and palm intersected. Xin Yuan felt a sharp pain in his palm. A sharp true power from Tang Tian's fist drilled into his palm. Xin Yuan's defense immediately collapsed. Spirit cards. Xin Yuan heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He was a martial fanatic. He did not have much else, but he had collected quite a few spirit cards. What spirit card do you want? I never thought that you would actually have the courage to challenge the difficult path of a close-quarters combat expert. This is truly admirable. Xin Yuan's face was full of admiration and solemnly said, Broken Shadow Palm, Minute Collapsing Fist, and Minute Collapsing Fist. I happen to have all 3 spirit cards. I'll give them to you. Don't worry, they are all silver cards. Chapter 23. Tang Tian and Amauri nodded tactfully. Stonehead was too oppressive. This incident, all the students involved will be severely punished. The principal was expressionless. From today onwards until the Star Wind Martial meet, if there are any students who play truant, they will be expelled. Yang Yong and Xin Yuan will be punished with 2 months of closed-door training. Tang Tian held his chin. Which one should I learn? After a burst of good-natured laughter, everyone turned and left. Tang Tian and Amauri squeezed a smile on their faces, looking bashful. Old Wei, how come you have time to come over today? The sturdy man asked. These people were tall and strong, their waists were thicker than a water bucket. Their entire bodies were bulging with muscles as though they were cast from copper and iron. The hammers in their hands were unusually big, and in their hands, it was as light as a feather. Stonehead casually wiped the stone cake, and a pile of crushed stones appeared in front of Tang Tian. These crushed stones were of the same size, almost the size of a soybean. What did you learn? Xin Yuan could not help but ask curiously. Minute Collapsing Fist crushed stones, it's pretty useful. The steel blade had no edge, the blade was thick and weighed more than 50 kilograms, but in Stonehead's hands, it was as light as a feather. Stonehead casually picked up a stone the size of a door from the pile. I brought 2 brats over to you to train. How is it? It won't be a problem, right? Old Fart Wei casually asked. Xin Yuan knew he asked something he should not have and hurriedly replied, Tang Tian is very brave, his fighting style is fierce, and he is not afraid of getting hurt. If their strengths are close, I think very few people can defeat him. The principal waved his hand, and when Xin Yuan left, he muttered to himself. Then Tang Tian and Amauri felt inferior. Assistant Su, who was in the corner, secretly cursed. It was rare for the principal to be so angry, and his heart was in his throat. What's wrong with that? Other than stones, there's only stones here. The burly man laughed heartily and looked up and down at Tang Tian and Amauri. He smiled kindly at them and praised, "You two are good." Tang Tian and Amauri usually boasted about their outstanding physiques, but when they stood among this group of fellows, they were like little bean sprouts. "All of you get out. Xin Yuan stay," the principal said coldly. The two of them hurriedly followed Stone into the quarry. This was an open-air quarry. Piles of large rocks could be seen everywhere. The rocks here were mainly granite. Fallen. Tang Tian turned around and said righteously, "Housefly cow, you underestimate this godlike young man. Just 6 silver cards and you want to make this godlike young man fall? Go into seclusion." The principal looked at Xin Yuan and said in a low voice, "Your talent in Crystal Sky is not the best, but your personality is not bad. You can keep your composure and guard your heart. I have always thought highly of you, do not disappoint me." Old Fart Wei beamed with joy to the point that his eyes could not be seen. But Tang Tian and Amauri had goosebumps. To be judged by a group of half-naked tower-like men, that feeling was too terrifying. The principal suddenly turned his face and stared at Assistant Su. "Go and tell the school discipline office, if they do not do well they can forget about it." When the burly man turned his body, Tang Tian and Amauri both sucked in a breath of cold air. In truth, Amauri's physique was already very strong, but compared to the burly man in front of him, Amauri was like a child. The burly man heard the call and turned to see Old Fart Wei. He could not help but laugh and walked over. "What are you training now?" Stonehead asked Tang Tian. Assistant Su hurriedly replied, "Yes." The principal's expression was stiff. "Continue." Tang Tian and Amauri's faces turned white. Sure enough, there was always a higher mountain. A mad bull like Amauri was like a grasshopper in front of Stonehead. Just at this time, Old Fart Wei's voice came out from behind the two of them. "Yo yo yo, this young man is rich. This silver light, it dazzled my eyes from so far away." Amauri's words stopped abruptly. Tang Tian and Amauri's hearts jumped. This is what life is like. He rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, "If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have said those harsh words. That guy is serious. Oh, seems like I have to give you guys some special training. Go." Surprisingly, when the principal heard that the two of them had lost, he was not too angry. He only said blandly, "Tell me." Amauri vividly described the battle that happened today to Old Fart Wei. Every muscle on the sturdy man's body was angular, dark and full of luster, as though he had gone through thousands of tempering. His arms were even thicker. Tang Tian looked at them and concluded that they were thicker than his thighs. Yes, after some training they are two good seedlings. The other people in the quarry heard the commotion and came over. Seeing the rumbling quarry in front of them, Tang Tian and Amauri were stunned. Yang Yong and Assistant Su immediately retreated. "Oh, a close-quarters combat expert." Stonehead's eyes flashed a strange look. He looked at Tang Tian from head to toe and praised, "Ambitious." Tang Tian's face turned pale. Tang Tian then carefully explained the spirit card in his hand to Stonehead. After listening, Stonehead nodded his head. "Then let's practice Minute Collapsing Fist." "There are many who practice Minute Collapsing Fist here." Assistant Su jumped in fright. This time the principal was truly angry. He looked at Xin Yuan and Yang Yong sympathetically. Xin Yuan was still considered calm, but Yang Yong's face was ashen. "Oh, it's just the beginning. I won't ask for much from you. Every piece of crushed stone must not exceed the size of a chestnut. Every day you will need 500 caddies of crushed stones." Tang Tian raised both his arms and looked up at the sky, his face solemn. "I need at least 6 gold spirit cards to make this godlike young man fall." "Fundamental Tang, you've fallen." Amauri had a look of disdain. "I lost." Xin Yuan lowered his head. "Tang Tian disguised himself as a pedestrian and led the way for us. Yang Yong was ambushed first, then he and Amauri joined hands and I lost." Old Fart Wei turned his face and laughed. "You guys will miss these 2 months." Stonehead waved his hand. Disperse, disperse, don't scare these two brats. Is that so? Tang Tian felt his expression was somewhat stiff, and his heart was palpitating with fear. Stonehead placed Stonehead in front of him and said to a Maori, "Your daily task is to chop the stone bricks like this." Iron Clay Finger had already been changed to Eagle Claw Technique, Aerial Wood Stake, 8 Steps Overtaking Cicada, Broken Shadow Palm, Minute Collapsing Fist, Consecutive Technique. 6 silver grade spirit cards were placed in front of him, shining with silver light, dazzling him. These two brats are not bad. Stonehead raised his hand and chopped down, easily cutting a piece of stone the size of a bamboo basket. Swish, 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 he chopped down a few times, and a square stone brick appeared in front of the two of them. Every surface of the stone brick was as smooth as a mirror and square as though it had been measured by a ruler. "I'll leave it to you," Old Fart Wei said irresponsibly. Old Fart Wei said, "You two joined hands and barely won against Xin Yuan?" Arriving at a place where the stones were piled up, Stonehead found a steel blade. Old Fart Wei turned his face to Tang Tian and a Maori and instructed, "From today onwards, Stonehead will be your special training teacher. No matter what he asks you to do, you have to do it." Old Fart Wei immediately became pleased. "Ah, that's right, my foresight is absolutely accurate." Tang Tian and a Maori were dumbstruck. This was granite so hard that it could break a steel blade. Xin Yuan and Yang Yong lowered their heads, standing in front of the principal, their faces pale. A Maori's face was full of smiles. "That's right, Fundamental Tang, you cannot let down your martial artist's heart, and become the strongest man, only then will you be worthy of your dreams." Tang Tian, who was intoxicated for a long time, looked up to the sky and sighed. Yes, Tang Tian's main training is the Flash Fist, but he can use the Flash Fist and release the Fist Aura. Xin Yuan said. Yes. Xin Yuan said respectfully. Tang Tian and a Maori looked at each other, suddenly having a bad premonition. "Then I'll be leaving." Old Fart Wei waved his hand and very confidently swaggered off. "Follow me," Stonehead said to Tang Tian and a Maori. The sturdy man was carrying a steel hammer which made Tang Tian and a Maori swallow their saliva. Old Fart Wei ignored him and walked straight towards the sturdy man, shouting from afar, "Hey, Old Sure! Old Fart Wei, why did you bring us here? Don't tell me your real identity is a child labor trafficker?" Tang Tian pointed at Old Fart Wei, with an expression of "I've seen through you." The principal's face turned green. "Very good. Very good. Seems like my orders are not enough. You guys still have the energy to secretly skip classes to find trouble with others." Old Fart Wei said to Stonehead, "He is called a Maori, my successor, and he is called Tang Tian. Oh, he wants to walk the path of a close-quarters combat expert." With that, he left a Maori with a pale face and brought Tang Tian to another corner. Tang Tian looked at the stone dregs on the floor, dumbstruck. "All right." Stonehead did not speak nonsense and straightforwardly nodded his head. Stonehead brought Tang Tian to a pile of stones, and once again picked up a stone the size of a bamboo basket, and smashed it with his fist. Stonehead casually threw the big steel blade to a Maori. "Here are these square bricks for these 10 days, you just have to give me 100 pieces every day." Old Wei, not bad, this time it seems like it. Tang Tian finally experienced the feeling of getting rich overnight. Tang Tian. The principal was surprised. The stone was flattened like tofu and turned into a stone cake. Xin Yuan revealed a pondering expression. At the start, a Maori's performance was a little not determined enough. But after that he suddenly became very determined and the impact was very strong. But what is worth paying attention to is Tang Tian. Crane-style Chi manual. He actually mastered it. The principal stared at Xin Yuan and snorted, "Did you lose or win? Flash Fist can produce Fist Aura." The principal's eyes suddenly widened and muttered to himself, "He actually gave that spirit card to Tang Tian. Tang Tian actually mastered it." Old Fart Wei jumped in front of the two of them and circled around the 6 silver grade cards with a face full of curiosity. "Where did you guys rob from?" Chapter 24. His minute collapsing fist was still weak, and his strength could not be compared to Big Brother Stonehead, so he needed many punches to be able to shatter the rocks. And the size of the shattered rocks were different. Tang Tian gradually grasped the rules of the cross door. He did not know if it was because of Southern Cross constellation, but the cross door and the number 10 had a miraculous relationship. The cross door would open once every 10 days, and this time it would be 10 days. If the hardship training was completed well, then the next time the hardship training was opened, Tang Tian would be able to set it himself. A Maori was already drunk to the point that he could not differentiate between north, south, east and west. He looked rough and suited the appetite of these strong men. Tang Tian, who was a maniac in physical strength, could only be considered as a weak little bean sprout here. Yes, he was very powerful in the past. Stonehead revealed a look of reminiscence full of emotion, but he got injured later on, adding on his old age he could not do it anymore. People like us can't do it either. Once we pass 50 years old we will go downhill. And after a session of hardship training, Tang Tian needed roughly 10 days to recover his physical strength and spirit. And this session of hardship training was just about Tang Tian's limit. Flash Fist's killing technique. Slaying lightning bolt. Stonehead retracted his smile and said seriously, but close quarters combat expert is very hard to train. Wrong, it is extremely hard to train. After witnessing Stonehead's minute collapsing fist, every rock was of the same size. That was the true standard. His sweat flowed, his heavy breathing mixed with the wind from his fists, and the number behind the cross door kept on jumping. Tang Tian took out all the rocks that were bigger than a chestnut and threw them to the side. After an unknown period of time, when Tang Tian slowly woke up, he looked at the cross door and was immediately shocked. The hardship training was about to end. Humph, if he dares to lie to me, he's dead. Tang Tian said fiercely. He was extremely tired, his eyelids became heavier and he immediately fell asleep. Impossible, Big Brother Stone is so powerful. Tang Tian's face was full of disbelief. Big Brother Stone's strength in Tang Tian's eyes was truly astonishing. When the minute collapsing fist was trained to a high level, it could even injure people through the air. Because when the vibrations of true power reached a certain level, it would cause vibrations in the air which could similarly injure people. Don't tell me old Fart Wei lied to me? Tang Tian's eyes widened. Old Fart Wei said it. He said that I am more ferocious and suitable for close combat. You also said that my woman would also like to fight hand to hand. Tang Tian scratched his head. Before he could react, he was sent flying by the blast. Bang, he crashed into the fog wall on the other side and then bounced back to the ground. The strength that Big Brother Stonehead and the rest had displayed was too tyrannical. Tang Tian dared to confirm that if Xin Yuan had met Big Brother Stonehead that day, he would not have lasted more than 10 moves. Tang Tian didn't believe it. That can't be. Brother Shirtu, you guys are so strong. I think you guys can kill a cow with one punch even if you're 80 years old. The beginning of the day. Fifth order. Tang Tian was stunned for a moment, but he quickly nodded. Yes, I'll remember it. Every round of hardship training lasted for 10 days. In the 10 days no one spoke, only punching non-stop. Even the time to rest was extremely tight. In the last few days of hardship training, one's entire body and spirit would be exhausted to the point of death. Big Brother Stonehead laughed. With my bit of strength it's still all right here. Actually it's not enough. Old Fart Wei's strength in the past was not bad, but now it's not enough. The power of Minute Collapsing Fist was much stronger than the Flash Fist. The third-rank Minute Collapsing Fist contained the technique of instigating true power, while the second-rank Flash Fist only had the basic technique of exerting force. A ray of silver fist mark that was as bright as lightning tore through the air. Tang Tian's expression was focused, his fist was suffused with a faint white aura, and he punched the stone material. I'm coming. Tang Tian hurriedly climbed up and without bothering to wash his face, he rushed out of the door. Tang Tian's fists were like rain, continuously punching the stone material. The cracks on the surface of the stone material increased. Each crack was as straight as a knife, and with a bang, it turned into a pile of crushed stones. The training of the Flash Fist was done behind the cross-light door. Stonehead laughed straightforwardly. I used to do odd jobs and whatnot. After interacting for a while, Tang Tian and Amauri realized, all the strong men looked fierce, but in truth they were all kind-hearted. The two of them shamelessly came over to eat and drink. The two of them were passionate and extroverted, and very quickly they became one with the group of strong men. After training the flash fist to perfection 200,000 flash fist times, to him, was not a difficult thing to do. It was just that the process was extremely tedious and arduous. The first time he fell asleep behind the cross-light door. Life in the quarry was monotonous but fulfilling. Time passed day by day and Tang Tian became more and more vigorous. He learned from the others and bared his upper body. The muscles all over his body became even more defined, suffused with a dark luster as though it contained limitless power. 399. Fundamental Tang, get up quickly, it's time to start working. The thin wooden door in front of Amaury's loud voice did not have any effect. Through the instantaneous vibration of true power, to achieve the goal of destruction, was the so-called collapse. Bang! Stonehead's expression froze on his face. In a moment he sighed. He put down the wine bottle in his hand. Little Tian, I don't object to you going to Immortal Constellation Mountain, but if you want to go to Heaven's Road, I suggest that you have the power of the 5th level or above. Tang Tian's minute collapsing fist improved rapidly, but he did not give up on training the flash fist. Every day he lived his life to the fullest. The sound of breathing stopped abruptly. Tang Tian's figure disappeared like a ghost. He suspected that Big Brother Stone had the power of at least the 4th level or above. Even if it was the 5th level, he would not be surprised. In Star Wind City, ordinary jobs only required the 2nd level, and 3rd level could find a relatively good job. 4th level power. Oh, it was said that Star Wind City's security captain had the power of the 4th level. The stone material exploded, forming a fine straight crack. Tang Tian envied and was full of energy. Like lightning, in an instant the light aura lit up, illuminating everything in his field of vision. An unstoppable aura caused people's scalps to go numb. Tang Tian's punching speed was extremely fast, his fists flickering in the air, erratic and unpredictable. Tang Tian shook his head and said seriously, I'm not afraid. As long as I can become stronger no matter how hard or tiring it is, I'm not afraid. Because I promised Xia, I will go to Immortal Constellation Mountain to find her, and then we will go to Heaven's Road together. These few days he had been using minute collapsing fist to break the stone material, and Tang Tian felt that he had improved. Especially his arm strength compared to before, it was stronger. Minute collapsing fist's fist technique was simple and unadorned. The force released was firm and fierce. Gradually Tang Tian's flash fist had an additional fierce taste. Because of the bitter training, Tang Tian's minute collapsing fist improved rapidly, but the biggest improvement was the crane-style chi manual. The outline of Tang Tian's crane body became clearer. Those fine meridians, as compared to when the crane body was first cultivated, expanded by at least 2 times. Was Old Fart Wei very powerful back then? Tang Tian's attention was immediately attracted. Finally mastered. Stonehead's face became even redder. After a long while he held his stomach, sat up straight. His expression was extremely weird. I can guarantee Old Fart Wei did not lie to you. Fleeting and fierce, 2 completely different styles quietly integrated. The night was like water. Everyone gathered around a pile, roasting meat, drinking wine. The work of quarrying stones was boring and tiring, and the night was a rare time for everyone to relax. Those who had the strength of the 4th level would choose to go to bigger places to earn money. And those genius students who had reached the 4th level at such a young age would not stay in such a small place for the rest of their lives. If they did not go out to explore, they would choose to go to a bigger constellation and enter a higher school to further their studies. The silver lightning heavily struck the fog outside the open space. He did not have time to climb up, only felt his vision blur and returned to reality. Other than him, only a few of the higher-ranked academies had experts of the 4th level and above. In Star Wind City, any student, if they had the strength of the 4th level, then the treatment they received was much better than the majority of the teachers. The number of 4th level teachers in Star Wind City was pitifully few. It was not only Star Wind City, the entire Wuan Star was the same. Tang Tian's true power was instantly emptied. His eyes were wide open, facing the whistling wave of qi. In a blink of an eye, it was right in front of him. The coarse panting and the wind from the fists disappeared without any warning. In the silence, suddenly a long and drawn-out inhaling sound came out. It was obviously just an inhaling sound, but it actually gave birth to a sharp intent. The bonfire reflected on everyone's faces, flickering. Tang Tian did not think that the crane-style chi manual would actually be so suitable for minute collapsing fist. Haha. Stonehead laughed out loud, ferociously gulping down a mouthful of wine. A hint of drunkenness surfaced in his eyes. I hope to borrow little Tian's auspicious words. Oh right, little Tian, why did you want to walk the path of a close-quarters combat expert? Big Brother Stone, what did you do in the past? Tang Tian asked curiously. Tang Tian, who was silent and motionless. A biting cold aura flashed past his eyes. His entire person was like a wild beast waiting to pounce. Strength of the 5th level and above, Tang Tian had never seen it before. Stonehead choked on the wine, his entire face flushed red. The crane body expanded to twice its original size, and Tang Tian discovered another benefit. The efficiency of refining true power had greatly increased. The refined true power along the outer walls of the 3rd-tier Dantian pool slowly crystallized, growing into the walls of the Dantian pool. Minute collapsing fist's moves were simple and plain, but that did not mean its power was small. Minute collapsing fist style was like Xin Yuan's iron palm, heavy on power and not on technique. Its destructive power was astonishing. Tang Tian, who was asleep, did not notice that when he used Slaying Lightning Bolt, a palm-sized gold card appeared on the light door. On the card, Tang Tian stood with his fists empty, his expression austere. Below his feet 2 words were written, Flash Fist. Tang Tian sprawled out on the ground, battered and exhausted. His entire body did not have an ounce of strength, not even willing to move a finger. He just laid there, staring blankly at the top of his head, perspiration dripping down. Not long after, his body formed a pool of sweat. 400,000. The 3rd-tier Dantian pool's capacity was slowly expanding. When the crane body activated Minute Collapsing Fist, the vibration of true power had the sharpness of a vibrating blade. Tang Tian's Minute Collapsing Fist formed cracks on the rocks, which were completely different from others. Ordinary people's Minute Collapsing Fist would have irregular cracks, but Tang Tian's cracks were as straight as a knife. Tang Tian once again entered the light door. Without resting, he started to train. Chapter 25. Once the gloves were in his hands, Tang Tian's hands subconsciously sank. So heavy. The ordinary-looking black gloves actually weighed more than 15 kilograms, causing Tang Tian to be shocked. He tried to wear the gloves, but he did not expect that although the gloves were heavy, they fit his palms very well. Oh, I better train in the aerial with stake first. On the way, Tang Tian could not help but ask Old Fart Wei. Hey Old Fart, where did Brother Stonehead and the rest come from? Why do they seem so powerful? Tang Tian's expression was solemn as he punched the stone in front of him. All the laughter stopped abruptly, and the rest looked at Stonehead in astonishment. Powerful. I really couldn't tell. This kid is a genius. With this kind of training, he could feel that his own blade techniques had obvious improvements. He walked to a huge granite that was as tall as 2 people. The surrounding workers all gasped in surprise. Although Tang Tian's fist could shatter the stone, it was only slightly bigger than his fist, but that was because his true power was too weak. The thorns and wings of the bamboo leaf bee had many uses, so there were specialized traders who bought them from outside the bamboo sea. Tang Tian looked at the vast bamboo sea and a surge of pride rose in his heart. Although it was only 20 days, but after spending time together, everyone had a good relationship. Tang Tian immediately stared at him angrily. Old Fart, who are you calling a brat? Stonehead was afraid that Tang Tian would be affected and comforted him. I have been training in the collapsing energy for more than 10 years. As long as you continue to train, you will definitely surpass me in the future. Tang Tian secretly cursed in his heart. The blade rose again and the blade fell again. The earthy yellow blade aura flashed once again. The heart of earth sounded like a mysterious thing. A Maori held the big steel blade in his hand. The blade's body emitted a faint aura. All the muscles in his body tensed up and his eyes were wide open. Tang Tian raised both of his arms and cheered, "Wow, godlike young lad, go go go." This special training. At the start, a Maori was not used to it. How could he be so precise when he was practicing his saber techniques? Furthermore, the granite was extremely hard and required true power to be poured into it, to be able to cut the stone bricks. The requirement for the fineness of true power was also extremely shocking. Very quickly they reached a mine and a Maori was thrown down by Old Fart Wei. Big Brother Stone waved his hand. Go. Don't waste time. Come and play when you're free. Tang Tian stared blankly at the pile of rubble, his heart indescribably horrified. If this punch had landed on a human body, how terrifying would it have been? A Maori had a silly smile on his face. He had suffered a lot these days. Cutting bricks with an iron knife seemed simple, but in reality it was not simple at all. The quarry had very high requirements for the finesse of the stone bricks, so the demand for knife skills was very high. Stone turned his face towards Tang Tian and said, "Little Tian, remember the killing move of Minute Collapsing Fist is called Great Avalanche." Tang Tian didn't really understand, but he couldn't help but caress the cold gloves. The hard and cold gloves were trustworthy. Old Fart Wei was all smiles and the others greeted him one after another. The stone trembled and broke into countless of small stone grains. Every stone grain was the size of a chestnut. It was different from the irregular small stones formed by other people's Minute Collapsing Fist. These small stones were cut very smooth as though they were cut by a knife. "Is it very valuable?" a Maori asked weakly, but both his hands were hugging the black iron knife tightly. Tang Tian and a Maori didn't really understand, but they felt that Big Brother Stone's last sentence was somewhat emotional. "Long live." Tang Tian jumped up and cheered with his arms raised. "This is definitely a precious place for you to train. Not only can you train your light body techniques, you can also train your broken shadow palm. Young lad, you must remember when training martial techniques, you must not make a loss. Oh right, you don't have a rank 2 palm technique, so I'll give you this floating palm spirit card. It's a bronze rank card, don't look down on it. If they could train for half a year, their improvement would be even greater." Stone said with some regret. "A Maori, your blade technique for your age is already very outstanding. What you lack is not in terms of technique but in a deeper level of comprehension. You train in earth-based blade techniques, and all earth-based blade techniques is to comprehend the heart of Gaia. Only by comprehending the heart of Gaia can you truly start training in the wild earth blade." Stone did not know whether to laugh or cry. "I'm not good with words, I can't explain it clearly. As long as you stay here for 10 years breaking stones every day, you will definitely be stronger than me." Under Old Fart Wei's urging, they reluctantly left the quarry. Old Fart Wei suddenly sighed. "You must remember they are a group of people worthy of respect. In this world there will always be many sinister, bad people, but there will always be people who will remember their own beliefs and vows. This kind of person is worthy of respect." Tang Tian was puzzled. Tang Tian nodded and said seriously, "Big Brother Stone, I will master it. It's a very distant constellation that produces excellent weapons. Don't lose it, we can't buy it here." Old Fart Wei stared. "Young man Tang, your light body technique is terrible, this is your biggest shortcoming. You should have heard of this jade green swamp sea of bamboos. There are many bamboo leaf bees here, these are good stuff, their sting and wings are all good stuff, they are worth a lot of money. But something seems wrong." A Maori's expression was focused, the big steel blade in his hand had a sense of determination. After a few consecutive slashes, a square stone brick appeared in front of everyone. Actually, it was mining. The jade green swamp sea of bamboos was very special. The sea of bamboos lived on top of a swamp. To enter the sea of bamboos, one had to step on the bamboo branches. Without good light body technique, it was difficult to move an inch. The bamboo leaf bee was a special product of the jade green swamp sea of bamboos. Its body was bigger than the average bee, its body was emerald green, and its wings were the same shape as the bamboo leaves. "You will know when the time comes," Old Fart Wei said without turning his head. With that, Old Fart Wei's figure flashed and disappeared. Every knuckle was extremely flexible and did not affect the movement of the fingers. Old Fart Wei muttered, "You guys have earned big. These two are Fornax Constellation's Black Iron Series weapons." The wrinkles on Old Fart Wei's face smoothed out and he said proudly, "You must be jealous. Let's go, youngsters, your special training is over." Of course, when Old Fart Wei brought him to the destination, Tang Tian did not even have the urge to curse. Stonehead did not laugh, his large hands rubbed Tang Tian's head and said seriously, "Yes. I believe you. Yes, qualified." Stonehead inspected the stone brick and revealed a satisfied look. Just at this time, a shocking scene happened. only to see the 2-man-tall granite, suddenly like an avalanche, suddenly broke into countless small pieces crashing down, dust flying everywhere. The 2 wooden boxes were opened. Inside were a pair of black metal gloves and a black long blade. But he immediately raised his arm and clenched his fist and said seriously, "Big brother Stonehead, don't worry, I will definitely surpass you in the future." Everyone was amused by Tang Tian's expression and laughed. Exhaling, he punched out with his right fist. "Hey old fart, what's our next special training?" Tang Tian asked. Tang Tian scratched his head. Stonehead turned to old fart Wei and said, "Although it's still lacking in maturity, but it can be considered as a pass. These 2 youngsters are not bad, they can endure hardship. Old fart Wei, you've picked up a treasure." A Maori raised his hand. "Old fart, I can prove fundamental tangs but is not small at all." The blade in his hand rose and the earth-yellow blade aura flashed and disappeared. Bang! Old fart Wei appeared out of nowhere. Out of Tang Tian's expectation, the ferocious punch landed on the hard granite and actually only produced a slight sound. Stonehead nodded. "That's true. To be able to endure such hardship, of course he's a genius." But when Tang Tian familiarized himself with the surroundings, he had to admit, the jaded swamp bamboo sea was indeed a good place to train in light body techniques and broken shadow palm. Stonehead passed the gloves and blade to the 2 of them. In the vast sea of bamboo, the shadows of the bamboos danced. Occasionally one could see a silhouette wearing a veil shuttling back and forth in the sea of bamboos. "Fornax constellation?" Tang Tian asked curiously. A Maori caressed the black blade and could not bear to let it go. He had trained in blade techniques for many years and with one look he could tell that the black blade was of excellent quality. "Old Fartway has picked up a treasure this time." Stonehead revealed a smile and suddenly waved his hand behind him, only to see a sturdy man, carrying 2 old wooden chests, laughing as he walked in front of the 2 of them. When old Fartway talked about money, his eyes shone with a golden light. A burly man nearby waved his hand and a gust of wind blew the dust away. Old Fartway encouraged, "Godlike young lad, do your best. Yo young lad, seems like you've done well." A small mountain of crushed stones appeared in front of Tang Tian. Old Fartway stared at Tang Tian. "What's a little brat asking so much for?" Old Fartway was silent. Lowering his waist into a horse stance, his fists retracted to the side of his waist, Stonehead's expression was solemn. Tang Tian and Amauri looked at each other. Could there be other special training? There was a group of beekeepers living here. Not bad. Stonehead's face revealed a smile and said to Tang Tian, "Although the minute collapsing fist is only at the 3rd level, but its power is not bad. And in the future you will realize many martial techniques will use collapsing energy. If you can completely grasp collapsing energy in the future, many higher-level martial techniques will be easy for you to learn. But carefully." The blade pierced into the stone material. Stonehead laughed out loud. "It's a waste to leave it here, you 2 little brothers don't mind. They're probably unwilling to stay in the dust and sleep. There's not much time left." Old Fartway said helplessly, "The martial meet is about to begin. These 2 rascals have other special training. Let them go through it first, and in the future they will have to go through it by themselves. They just need to be initiated." Stonehead did not explain, only smiled warmly and encouraged, "Do your best, godlike young lad." Tang Tian scratched his head. "No way, I have to find Chia. This is a gift for you, I hope you like it." Tang Tian stared blankly at the direction where old Fartway disappeared, and only reacted after a long time. This guy was really a child abductor. In terms of attainments in the minute collapsing fist, Tang Tian had already reached a relatively proficient level. The big men in the quarry were extremely fond of these 2 rascals. They all clapped and some even whistled. Tang Tian jumped to Big Brother Stonehead's side, raised his little face full of reverence, his eyes filled with stars. "Big Brother Stonehead, teach me, teach me." Big Stonehead did not move an inch. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.